Wow. Yeah, this side of the room is cold. Um, what's up, everybody? It's Thursday analysis stream. We are on the chilly side of the room. Body heat. So, Mr. Coffee asked me, "What's up, guys?" All right. I've got games from. Let's see. Got a little headache. I just took some acetaminophen. I hope I'm not pregnant. All right, no. One rapid game draw. What rapid game? Oh yeah, training game. Okay. So, studies analysis 129. Okay, so Pavel Nefudov, Acerbate, Sun Prism, and a game I threw in there, and we've got Acerbate, Sun Prism, and Nefudov so far. Ooh, it's chilly in here. I can't drink coffee in the evening or I won't go to sleep last night again. I cannot sleep, even with no coffee. All right, Acerbate, your game is up first. So let's take a look. International Master William Pascal. We've been doing this for a long time. And need your support. Please subscribe. Alright, so Acerbate, I have not seen this one yet. We like to warm up with games from Acerbate because he's so much fun. So our first game, Piliam, welcome. First game is Acerbate. It's knight f3. Always a solid choice. Controlling two central squares while not establishing a pawn center yourself. Hypermodern chess. Favorite of course, Reti Ricard. Black playing d5 now. The most principled response. Occupying the center. Creating a strong pawn center. And so now we need to see what white has in mind. Here white has many different options. Acerbate playing c4. And this is the Reti Ricard. Reti opening proper. Just knight f3 is not really a Reti. It's a transpositional move. It's not correct to call that a Reti. This is the Reti. In Hungarian, Reti means reed, like a piece of grass, in the swamp or by the seaside. Reeds, high grass. So c4 counterattacking the center. Black can play d4, e6, c6, and takes. 4 primary moves here. What does your opponent do? Yeah, you've gotten this most commonly, d takes c4. They take because they can. But it's not the safest move for black. The most solid moves are e6 and c6. The most aggressive move and perhaps best, d4, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. So this is the Reti accepted. Now, as far as Acerbate goes, I've seen a lot of different moves here from you. E3, knight a3 so far. You can also play g3. G3 is okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with g3. Sort of delaying the process of counterattacking or trying to regain the pawn. But here's a move I haven't seen before. Knight c3. And the problem is, in a lot of Queen's Gambit, Slav type of things where black has a pawn on c4, is that here you don't have to worry about d5, d4, But you might have to worry about b5, b4 at some point in the future. I'm not certain this is a bad move. It's just kind of a routine developing move. It does take away our option of knight a3 though, which is important to, you know, and I should have mentioned another move, by the way. White can also play queen a4 check. And it's I don't think that we've ever seen Astrobait actually play that. This move it's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with queen a4 check. Regaining the pawn with the queen, if you're so inclined. So anyway, knight c3, new to me, and now black. I would anticipate a6 or c6 from a skilled player, trying to hang on to the pawn and maybe ultimately we can hit that knight with b5, b4 at some moment. So our director said in a game, okay, Iatan is our director. I hadn't realized that earlier before the other day, or maybe I did and I forgot. All right, now we've got it straight. Copy. Add game, thank you. All right, add a new chapter. If you're a subscriber, you can submit a game. Boom. This is one of my ways of trying to give back for people who subscribe. As Moobot says, please subscribe to support the stream. Receive great benefits, weekly pensions, etc. Free alcohol. So let's take a look here. That's the wrong game. Okay, back to where we were. Astrobait against Maksimka. Boom, 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 boom. But I hadn't mentioned queen a4. It is a move. It's perfectly playable. So now knight c3. He plays knight f6. Okay, just transposing. More testing to probably play something like c6 or a6. After a6, for example, what do? You know, you have to consider stopping b5 with a4. There's also like tricky situations. Queen a4 check b5. Knight takes b5. It looks good. But then what do you do on bishop d7? Oh no. Yeah. That doesn't look good. So that's the way to test knight c3, I think. It's not clear you're going to get this pawn back. If you can't get the pawn back, you could be in trouble, especially with oncoming traffic like b5, you know, b4. So you have to play like a4 if he plays a6. And if c6, similar question. But if c6, a4, I kind of like a5. You can try to get in there. Anyways, knight f6, not a testing move. e3, and now you're threatening to grab the pawn. So we either see, you know, a6, c5, bishop e6, c6, whatever. We'll see what he does. That's not a good move. You know where that might be a good move? If, imagine, maybe you were to play e4. If you were to play e4, then b5, the idea would be, I guess, e5, b4. I doubt this is even good, but there you probably have queen a4 check. Doesn't look good for black either. I guess b5 is just not really ever good. Yeah. Anyways. Anywho. Knight takes b5. And you got a free pawn. And now you're going to get back this pawn. So black just blew the whole, you know, the whole position in one move. I mean, it's a total disaster. He should try a6. Or perhaps bishop e6. And we've seen you with some similar games. Oh, knight takes b5. And now a6. And now, you know, just simply go back. Or even knight a3. If you're so inclined. Not d4. Your knights are redundant. Go to c3 or a3. You were fancy and played queen a4, and like I pointed out, it's the exact same thing happened. You are trapped by bishop d7, but it's not the same because you have bishop takes c4 now. Holy moly. So, dude, some analysis here says knight e5. Knight e5, bishop takes b5, bishop takes c4. Queen takes d2 check. Holy crap. That's awesome. What a variation. So you can't take the queen. Very neat. So it turns out that this position is actually okay for you. Because that one line. But, well, why is this so bad? Are you going to tell me it's because black has like knight c6 or something? Oh no. Okay. What about knight c6? Here. No, then you just retreat. Yeah, he breaks his own pin. Okay, so after bishop takes c4, the only move is e6. And now he's starting to get two pieces for the rook. But even that isn't necessarily game over, is it? You can try knight e5 again, right? Pawn takes b5. Okay, so this is critical. Takes, and he takes your bishop. You're gonna lose the two pieces for the rook. That's the best you can do, probably, because you got carried away with queen a4. Okay, Pilium is also a subscriber now. You managed to survive. Good that you can make it. All right. Another player in the analysis stream. Copy. Learn. Study. My studies. Okay, here we go. I don't know, guys. I think I have some kind of weird, like, COVID or something. I'm not really sick, but I have this weird symptoms. I'm not feeling 100% right, so I may not be as entertaining as usual. Okay, add a new chapter. Alright, back to our first game. So Asterbate blunders with queen a4, black plays bishop d7, white plays bishop takes c4, missing a great tactic, and then h6. Holy moly, bro. h6. Stopping knight g5. Missing the main threat of knight e5 in the center. B12 vitamin. I could use some B12 vitamin right now. I've had all these weird symptoms like fatigue, tiredness, headache, muscle aches. But the one thing that I haven't had is supposed to be the main symptom of the COVID is sore throat. I've had no sore throat. Zero sore throat. So that's like the number one symptom supposedly. I guess, maybe I have some immunity to sore throats or something. All right, but it feels like I had something. I haven't been sick in a long time, so I guess I'm due to be sick or something. I have to play a tournament game on Sunday morning, so I'm trying to rest as much as I can. Bishop takes e4, h6, knight e5, now threatening mate in 1. Well, black needs to play excuse me, e6. e6. I would assume e6. And then what? We just take on d7. Or do we have even better? The computer prefers to play another move here. A very subtle one. But I mean, at the minimum, you can play knight takes d7. Queen takes d7 is good because of this. So black probably... If you take here, knight takes f6 check. Pawn takes f6. Queen takes a8. White is just up the exchange. So he has to play e6, knight takes d7, knight takes d7. And then you just move your knight, and you're just much better. But instead he played this, which is a very bad idea because of discovered double checkmate. Double check. Discovered double check and mate. Knight takes c7 mate. And I just want to mention that knight d6 double check and mate is also a good move. Anyway, okay, that was entertaining Astrobate. Oh, Sinus says, hi, I realized I never submitted a game. Never submitted a game this week. Lever Kun. Thanks, Sinus. Copy PGN. Chapter PGN. No, copy PGN. Learn, study, my studies. Be a subscriber. Mad NPC. Lysine. What is lysine? Alright. Add a new chapter. I was trying to think of Bleach, maybe. I'm not that sick, but I think I have something, since Monday. But whatever. Hopefully it's going to go away soon. You're a subscriber, Sinus. You are. Thank you guys for being subscribers. All of you guys. Astrobate, Sun Prism, Eaton, Pilium, and Sinus as well. So now we're going to move on to our second game, which is Sun Prism. Or maybe wait, we'll see if he's here. It's an amino acid. Oh shit. Amino acid's very good. But there's some amino acid that's that's very good for you in general, isn't there? Well, they're pretty basic things, but you can take supplemental forms. There was another one. All right, so this is Sun Prism. This is game 2. I don't know if Sun Prism is here. There was another amino acid I was recently reading about. Not lysine, something else, I think. It's in energy drinks like Red Bull. Some of them, not all of them. Maybe it was arginine. It was arginine, yeah. Oh, I tried Palinka, and last night I tried Palinka and Unicum. But not as a prophylaxis, Nefidov. That's the problem. I didn't start drinking the Palinka and Unicum till after I got the COVID or whatever it is. I have COVID without sore throat, I guess. Just feel weird. It's not too serious. It just... I know there's something not right, enough to know that something's not right since Monday. Been real tired, sleeping a lot. Anyway, well, I don't want to sit here and complain. Just it's okay. I haven't been sick in a long time. Like all last year, I was almost not sick. Okay, so Sun Prism. Some people are getting sick every week. When I had my tonsils removed when I was a teenager, I used to get sick all the time. Sun Prism is black. We've got e4, e6 French defense. Oh, you wish you could find the Unicum here. That was good. You know what I have? Now you guys are going to make me drink on the stream. 500 milligrams paracetamol. That's what I took. And I think it's already helping. Sinus. Oh, before the game. Well, I took a paracetamol now. Although Robert Kennedy Jr. probably wouldn't approve. But I'm not pregnant. Like, the Unicum is good. Yeah, but I didn't take it as prophylaxis. I have some orange Unicum. It's actually pretty tasty. Phenylalanine, I've heard of that. Tryptophan is very well known. Alright, so E4, E6, D4, D5. We're playing the French defense now. And then I'm going to get some orange Unicum. I'll be right back. Pure pressure. Medicine. You guys can still hear me, but you can't see me. I forgot to turn the sound off. So, alright. Sign of his real feelings. Okay, you don't want to see me anyway. So, yeah. Even has a little medicinal cross on it. So, you know this is medicine. If it has the cross on it, it's safe. It's like the little dogs that bring you, you know, the barrel in the ski slopes in Switzerland or whatever. A brandy. In case you're like dying in a snowstorm. Medicine. This is not alcohol, it's medicine. Alright, so some prism is here. Okay. Alright, so we're black against an 1800. We're 1900. Excuse me while I puke. Yeah, that hurts, man. It's enough to make you not play the French defense, honestly. It's funny because like I played the Caro-Kann a lot. I didn't really play the French much, but you know, in the Caro-Kann, for example, this is not a problem. Exchanging pawns is actually dynamic in the Caro-Kann because you're exchanging in an unbalanced way. But when you play the French or the Slav, maybe that's why I just never wanted to play the French or the Slav, because when they exchange, there's nothing you can do. You're like forced into a symmetrical structure. It just sucks. You know what I would do as a serious thing, although, you know, you can't do it against like really strong players, but for weaker players, you could consider taking with the queen on d5. I know that people have done that. It would be an inferior Scandinavian with e6. Not good, but, you know, who knows. Maybe it's playable. Sometimes the opening, the value of the opening is not as important as keeping your opponent out of what they want to play. But anyways, all right. So the principal were forced to respond now. Bishop d3. Like main move, but a lot of times they'll play knight f3. I don't know which you encounter more. What's the difference? I mean, I guess bishop d3 is like traditional exchange variation move. Knight f3 is more like a Petrov with d3, and then there's c4, which most people don't play because it's completely other. This is an aggressive move. I know one guy, Ochotnik from Ukraine, he lives in France, but Ochotnik wrote a book on this, actually, this Godiva variation. He's played it a lot, I guess, but that you're not going to see here. It's a player, they're playing boring stuff. Bishop d3, and now if you could play for c5, you can dynamize the position. But can you get away with being like you're white with the black pieces? That's hard to do. I don't know how justified c5 is right away. I think it's a move. Mad NPC. Why would people play e takes c5? Well, they're not interested in playing the objectively best move. It's a practical decision. There's people who like symmetrical structures. They feel like they can maybe, like Jesse Cry used to play the exchange Slav with white, which sickened me, but a really strategic player might be able to sort of plan quite deeply into those symmetrical structures, how they're going to set up their pieces and whatnot, because there isn't a lot of dynamics with the pawns. You can go more deeply into how are you going to strategize about placing your pieces and maneuvering the pieces and whatnot. There's a lot of strategy, just not so much with pawn dynamics, or not at all with pawn dynamics. I think Jesse has a point there. But why would people... Yeah, generally to be safe and just keep a draw likely result. What's interesting about the exchange French? I think the fact that in the 1800s, it was like the go-to way for white to play. During this so-called romantic era of chess. So you have... I always use the example of Blackburn, who also played the French himself with black. No, that's, I know, conspiracy theory, but if the exchange variation of the French is stupid and it's passive and people are just playing for draws, then why did all these romantic era players play it in the 1800s? And the answer is because you get at least a semi-open position. There's an open file, a mutually open file. The romantic era players, they liked open positions. And I think it's also a trend. Everyone else was playing the exchange variation. Clearly white can't be worse, being up a tempo in a symmetrical structure, but... So I just think it's kind of funny. We think of it as a drawish passive variation today, and maybe it is in a great percentage of cases, but here it was the go-to thing for players like Blackburn and others in 1890s, or whatever. It's weird. Anyways, really in the days before people started playing d4 a lot. Okay, so bishop d3 and now bishop d6. I think you're going with main line here. It was a dogma that all closed positions are dull, right? And it still is, because no one plays d4 on the under 1800 level online, unless they're going to play the London system. But instead of bishop d6, there are other options. You can play knight f6, but you have to be willing to deal with this pin. And I remember somewhat Sung Prism. Someone in town hasn't been here in a while. Sung Prism is concerned about this pin, if I remember correctly, and he's right to be somewhat concerned about this pin, but I don't think this variation is bad. Knight f6 is a thing. That's, again, more of a Petrov style. With bishop d6, you're playing on knight e7 usually, and bishop f5 to trade white's good bishop off. Black doesn't. In the pan of Caro, there's e6 for black. Well, very different. But now white plays queen f3, which is, it's a well-known idea. Stopping bishop f5 ideas. I mean, I don't know, but this exact position. Let's see the opening score. Yeah, so it is a main line. It also supports the exchange bishop f4 for white. So occasionally you'll see this sort of move in the queen's gambit. Queen f3 attacks d5, it's incidental. Supports bishop f4 and discourages black from playing bishop f5. Now, the number one move for black is c6, but it's hard to blame black for not wanting to play that move. You know, I think that c6 it's kind of routine. And it's not developing a piece. I would prefer to develop a piece, so I like Sun Prism's choice here to play knight e7. Another advantage of queen f3 might be that on knight f6, white might have bishop g5. I have never really looked at this. I've never studied the exchange French, which actually hurt me because 2 years ago in the World Senior, I lost in the last round. 3 years ago in the World Senior, I lost in the last round against Maxim Novik. It was a Petrov where he transposed it to an exchange French. And I didn't know what I was doing in the exchange French. And I had to just make it up, and it was like really bad because I used a lot of time to play obvious moves in a key last round game, which would have been money if I had not fucked it up. Knight f6, bishop g5, maybe. I mean, we could play knight d7, I guess. But I don't know. So here, and now, if I'm white, I'm going to go for my bishop f4 idea. But this move is fine. I mean, white is developing. Knight e2. And now black decides to play c6. I mean, knight e7 also protects d5. You didn't need to protect d5. It's already indirectly protected by the threat of bishop e4 check. But it's a developing move. Knight e7. When we look at the score, white has positive score here, but a small sample size. At what rating do you need to memorize the different openings? You know, I don't think that we should ever really look at it that way. I don't think that memorizing is ever truly the way to think about it. Learning the openings. I'm not sure at any level memorizing is really. Maybe it's semantics, you know, but I prefer not to use the term memorizing. It's more important to understand the ideas than memorizing exact moves. Of course, it depends on the type of position. Maybe 0. I'm not a big fan. But I do think that if you're an advanced player who plays extremely theoretical positions, you're going to be forced to quote-unquote memorize some pretty extremely long variations. But below master level, I can't imagine that's a good idea. For memorizing openings, I just don't think like it's really important until you get close to the master level. At least 2,000. You know, let's say 2,000. It's overrated. Big time. Now c6. I don't know. White's going to castle which side? Still not defined. Bishop g4. If bishop g4, white has only one move. Queen takes g4. I was thinking about the knight on f6 variation, sorry. Right. No, if you would play knight f6, white's not playing knight e2 probably there. Even there it would be playable, but... Do you want to commit to castling kingside? Knight c6 threatening knight b4. If you play knight c6 threatening knight b4... And there's a lot of questions. Okay, we're not going to figure out the entire exchange French here. You played c6. Okay, I think this is an option. And castles has to be an option. And that's about it, honestly. You either play knight c6, castles, or the move in the game. And now, I think a disgusting move. Bishop e3. What are you doing? If I'm black now, I'm like, woo, woo. There's like, what? Here's a move I did not expect, okay? Now, I don't know about some prism, but if white plays this move now, right, the knight before idea, and you know, white has that too. That's the idea, to go after the white square bishop, of course. So, when white plays bishop e3, I'm like, what is white doing? I mean, white's supposed to be playing bishop f4. Maybe she'll play knight c3 or something. But I'm definitely expecting the dark square bishop to move, you know, to f4. So what the heck is bishop e3? And then why are there no master games here? Well, the bishop sucks. Okay, it sucks. That's bad. This terrible bishop placement. But more importantly, the whole strategic idea for white with knight e2 and queen f3, of course, is support like this exchange, which is favorable for white, trading your bad bishop for black's good bishop. So she's not making this favorable exchange. Why? You know? Well, she doesn't understand the concept. And the other thing is that it seems like, then you've got to ask yourself, why is d4 under pressure? No. Why is white playing bishop e3? The only answer is that white wants to castle queenside, in my mind. If defends the central pawn, okay. Maybe I'm wrong, you know, but they're delaying castling and playing bishop e3. I'm thinking, well, it's going to do some crazy shit here, like castling queenside. I would be my first thought, you know, white is thinking about, and you got to try to get inside your opponent's head when they make moves. Try to understand. It's not easy, you know, but if you can predict what they're going to do. Psychology of chess. So now a very interesting move by Sun Prism, which is cool. Now he plays knight a6. Rather than routine development. Excellent idea, sir. Because if you go here, it's fine, but you do, you know, obstruct your bishop on c8 for what it's worth. This move gives you the option of knight b4. And on bishop takes a6, you have the beautiful queen a5 check and take in the Caro-Kann style queen takes a6. So I like this idea. White plays c3. The other option for white, of course, is to play a3. And I don't know, you know, which is better. One might argue that c3 is more natural. And I think after that, now, castling queenside becomes another pawn move on the queenside. I'm not afraid of white castling queenside. I'm just saying she might. So now Sun Prism, like, does what she did. I'll have what you're having. I'll have what he's having. Bishop e6. Not two wrongs don't make a right. Some people think that two wrongs make a right, but I'm not sure that two wrongs add up to a right. Plus, isn't white conceivably threatening bishop takes a6 to smash your pawns here? I feel like this is kind of a no-brainer. I mean, you have to consider the ugly-looking queen b6 to attack the pawn, but force white to make a very awkward move. What is white going to do? b4. bishop c1, sack the pawn, or b3. All of the above are kind of weird. Though queen b6 is also weird. You would place your queen in a kind of an awkward square. On b4, I don't know, if this is not the kind of dangerous for us. But I think you might be okay here. I don't know. Queen b6 is experimental. I would play knight c7. You retain maximum flexibility. I see no reason to object to knight to c7. Your bishop on c8 it's fine. It's developed from its original square. So this move I'm not a fan of. Now, maybe Sun Prism has some kind of plan. I don't know. Maybe he has a plan of doing something like queen d7, bishop f5. Not a bad idea. Hey, chess family, what's up? Go ICE. ICE Allentown. What's up? WJ Loof, nice to see you. What's think she's castles long? So a6 wouldn't be bad for me. I'm not convinced she's castling long after c3. Honestly, if I was white and you played knight a6 and I wanted to castle long, what would I do? Maybe play a different opening or something. Is a3 any better if she wants to try to castle queenside, or is it even worse? She could still maybe put the knight on c3. I'm just wondering if you're like a madman, would you do like b5? C3, look at it this way. C3 weakens 2 squares. Seriously. C3 weakens 2 squares. And A3 only weakens 1. Allentown evicted ICE for non-payment of rent. Nice. You guys just aren't politically important enough. Why is ICE attacking Maine? It's so moronic, Maine. There's so many like red voters in Maine. That's stupid. It's already like just really stupid. Susan Collins had like 9 clergymen arrested from her like office or something yesterday. You're not getting reelected. Anyway, okay. No politics for me. I'm sorry. I get carried away. C3. I don't know. I don't think she's gonna castle queenside now. After that, bishop b6. Okay. And then yeah. See, I knew you were up to something. With this, he didn't intend on leaving the bishop on e6. He's trying for bishop f5. White. Well, I mean, if white takes on a6, they're not going to castle queenside. I'm saying take on a6 and try to castle kingside. She can play this for sure. Except she loses a piece to bishop g4. Okay, she'll have to stop stop that, with something. But she can take on a6. Fully playable. h3, not a bad move. Bishop f5, and now bishop f4. Now she figured out. So she lost the whole tempo figuring that out. Okay, so it's like totally equal now. Apparently. Bishop takes d3, queen d3, knight c7. Interesting move. Not bringing white's knight to f4. I don't know if that's good or bad. You're going to have to talk to like Zlatko Ilinčić to figure out how to win this, because it looks like one of these like Petros he was getting. He would beat he would win those Nimzovich Petros or d3 Petros. It's like, how do you win? Just push all your queenside stuff up, randomly, and try to create something. Knight c7. Okay, knight f3. Now she's got e5, but you've got f6. At this point, I'm like, why isn't still white hasn't castled yet? White should definitely castle. If I'm white here, 100% of the time I castle kingside. Százalik, in Hungarian. Especially against a higher rated player. What other move is there? You're going to castle queenside now after playing c3, d4, and trading your good bishop off? No. It's playable, but it's kind of stupid. You should just castle kingside. Why are you not castling here? Are you afraid black's going to castle queenside? Ooh. So this is kind of stupid because you could just play f6 and hold that e5 square forever. You could so easily keep her out of e5. It makes knight f3 look kind of dumb, in my opinion. So she should castle. But you decided to trade now. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just work here. Okay, I mean, knight e5 is an issue. But it's not really scary. If you castle... Okay, wait, has knight g5. That's... Still, you have to play knight g6. Maybe castling isn't optimal for you. Even f6 is fine, though. I don't think of f6 as a weakening here that badly. It's more worthwhile than it is a weakness. But you're running into very big danger of a draw. Bishop takes f4, knight takes f4. This is very drawish now after knight e6. And, I mean, white needs to get, their brain examined here. Because I'm shocked that white could be 1800 and play the following. This is really dangerous and kind of insane. Though we might call it courageous and creative as well. It's not going to matter if she can trade queens, but how could she force a trade of queens? I don't see that happening. Although white's play is really inconsistent, Queen h6 check, you have to play queen e3, obviously. King c2, and this is just mental. And I think you gotta seriously consider castling kingside. But this is gonna be based on calculation. You have to calculate a lot here. I'm playing castles kingside. Realistically, I'm probably being irrational. I think that I'm gonna take it back. Maybe you just have to accept that this is like a draw. And you can try to outplay white in the end game. What I'm concerned about is h4, to be honest with you. If you try to castle kingside, then h4. Our counterplay on the queen side is not forthcoming. I don't think you've really made any mistakes. I expected white to play queen e3, but after king c2, I would advocate for something like queen g6 anyway. Maybe just play queen g6 anyway. If she goes to the open file, you play f6. And if she does something like here, we play king d7. If she doubles rooks, we meet that somehow. You're not worse. Queenside castles is also okay. I don't like the square. You're you're at this point, this is where you're drifting at this point. We are drifting. So I think that was the dangerous moment. Deceptively, look, this deceptive position. Even f6, I think, is fine. You having, you know, queen g6 in your back pocket whenever you want it. You could trade queens. The important thing is that the central square, the outpost square, white can't access e5. In a position with a mutually open file, white has no breaks or attack. I would rather be black because white's a little bit more extended. But yeah, castle queenside lets her get e5 and maybe some knight f7 threats. It's hard to play f6 after this, but this move is actually good because what do? Knight g6 is bad. Queen f6 is awkward. Queen g6 is impossible. This is crazy. Now you actually have problems. Can you play queen d6 back? And then on knight e5, try to play this and kick white out with f6? I seriously regret you not playing f6 at some point. No, I don't like knight g6 either. Exactly. Like, you're already in trouble once you castle queenside. You left f7 weak. I mean, f6 is fine. Queen g6 is fine. Castles is risky, but playable. But castles queenside looks like a mistake. It's easy to think like, oh, nothing can possibly go wrong here. And then, you know, what you did looks natural. What about, oh man. What about f6 next move? Ooh, this is computer move, rook e3. No time to centralize your king. I have a crazy suggestion now. Okay, f6. What about knight g8? Knight g8 allows knight e5. Oh my god. What a disaster. But how does f6 work? You use the king? Use the king. She could triple. Triple eyes. King d7. Queen e2. Queen g6 check. King c1. Queen f7. Is that the point? You have like knight c8. She has something or she doesn't, you know? Yes or no? Not really. Knight h4. Yeah. That's what I would expect. You're only slightly worse. It's easy to see how this happened. White's play is really reckless and overly optimistic, but she got away with it. Rook e3, g6, giving you f5, giving your queen back here, and then you have to play this. This is obviously suboptimal. Queen e2. It's a miracle if you didn't lose this game. Oh my god. And then g4. Suddenly she looks like a genius. So rook c7. Our counterplay is lining up now nicely. Wow, what a disaster. So computer wants to play a4. That's not happening. So I guess white should be expected to play maybe like knight e5. Pop this back here. But you can kick her out. There's this piece coming in there. This is weak. These sort of things. Can you imagine how many moves you would lose to a computer here? But nobody's playing a4, the engine suggestion now. Queen d2. So white had trouble finding a way to execute. Rook d7, that's wonderful. Oh my god. She's going to do the queen e1. Nothing constructive really occurred there. It's just aesthetic. King d7. Rook e7 would sacrifice a pawn with check. You're completely lost. This is objectively a better try. The computer valuation not always the right idea. You know, even if this wasn't objectively best, it was a heroic effort. Rook e5, pawn e5, rook e6, queen f3. And now, boom, and you have knight g8. Oh my god. But you are losing a pawn here, right? No, you're not. You have queen f5 check. Oh, wow. Yeah. So what if you were -5? I was -5 one of my games for the World Senior against Peter, what's his name? Michael Doherty. I didn't know I was -5. I thought I was like -2. Or something like that. But people need a high level of skill to execute, you know, a +3 advantage. It's not that easy. All right. So now a totally insane move from white. Yeah, I think you need... Why? Okay, it gets away from queen. Okay. Yeah, it gets... Yeah, maybe it's not so bad. All right, it's not that insane. You get away from all the checks. King c1 also not safe. All right, I'd give her that. King b1 is very passive. I mean, this is kind of a normal move, but I mean, right? Queen f5, king a1 is not great. But king b3 is kind of weird, too. Draw. You'd be so happy for a draw at this point. You know, it's not like your opponent is 300 points, 400 points lower rated. Anyway, I mean, it was a disaster. Now, notice this queen is so stupid here. She did all that to maneuver her queen to e1 when it was really, you know, better on e2. She's still better. The queen is her problem. And now your king is going to be centralized in this endgame. She was patient, but became impatient now. I don't know, though. As big as your advantage might be, it's not so easy for white to make progress here. So rook takes rook first. Something like queen e5 check, king d7, and then bounce back to set up stuff with like knight e5, I imagine. White has obviously no losing chances objectively. She can finally play like f3. But your knight needs to get into the game. Looks still, it's very bad. So queen e5, you're like, oh, sigh of relief. Queen e5. Which way is white taking? With the knight? Your knight is horrible. Your knight has to join the game. Like yesterday. So if she takes with the knight, you're pretty much obligated to trade. And then you have stuff like c5. But your knight can't remain on g8. So you basically have to play this, and then the knight comes back in. And she has threats like knight g4 here, attacking h7. I mean, you're still worse. Surprisingly, the computer thinks you've equalized. I thought you're still worse. Wow. But it's difficult for white to decide which way to take. Now you have a queenside majority. She has a lock on the f6 square for whatever that's worth. But you play king e7. You have to. And now rook takes f8. I don't think she can sack the exchange. She probably has to exchange into the knight in game. White has more space, but, you know, objectively, who knows? White is a little better. Yeah, okay. That was an adventure. Okay, we've got Nefedov. Is Nefedov here? Nefedov, gotta take this medicine away from me before I take too much. Sinus. Okay. No more. No more. Very addictive. Unicum is very, very dangerous, though. Mr. Coffee. Use with caution. Not as dangerous as Hazy or House homemade Palinka. That game was weird. Very weird. Honestly, like White, I couldn't decide if they were trying to play for a draw or play for a win. Alright, so we're Nefedov. He's not here. But I don't care. Maybe we could wait for Nefedov. Alright, if Nefedov's not here, we will wait. I'll do Eton and the others. So this is Eton against the 2230 Rapid. Oh, you're here. You're here. Okay, we'll do Nefedov. He's here. Okay. Well, make your presence known, man. You should do an announcement when you arrive. Nefedov is here now. Nefedov. So, all right. Nefedov. These are BCF ratings. Oh, I just realized something. Right. The last game, Sun Prism, those are also ECF ratings, right? ECF, BCF, whatever. That's also ECF, which is probably around the same as FIDE. Okay. This is ECF. Nefedov black against Mr. Staples. Knight C3. Ah. That's a very good anti-Nefedov move. But Nefedov will find a way. So, I don't have many games with Nefedov. I imagine he's probably played C5. But if he plays C5 directly, he would walk right into a closed Sicilian. So maybe D5 Nefedov. What have you played against here? Me. Yoda would ask, Nefedov, what have you played here against me played? I don't play Knight C3 too often, so I probably have like 1 or 2 games where I've ever played Knight C3 against Nefedov. I had a game in the World Senior where I messed with this guy by playing Knight F3, D5, Knight C3, because he had this like really annoying repertoire, and it came to me like a brainstorm. I had figured out that if I played Knight F3, D5, Knight C3, I took him out of like all of his openings. I played like the Accelerated Dragon or something. I was like, oh. So that's another option. You can still get into a Scotch. Knight F3. Knight F3, Knight C6, E4, E5. Knight F3, Knight C6, E4, E5, D4, 4 knights, Scotch. So it was E4, and it was E5. And now the question is, this is like the one opening I think I've never played against Nefedov, although I don't play the Vienna. I rarely play the Vienna. I never really liked the Bishop C4 variation, mainly because I don't really know it, and additionally because the Dracula Frankenstein variation, well, I figured it's okay for white. And additionally very hard to play for both sides. The Nefedov has his repertoire. He's very serious about his preparation, and he has his repertoire. But I don't know, you know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is the most famous variation, of course. Queen H5. Wasn't it played in Alekhine versus Uwe? Not like the world's most famous World Championship match, but still. They had two. Alyoukin would occasionally play the Vienna. Alyoukin. Sorry, Nefida. Would occasionally play the Vienna. Bishop c4, knight takes c4. I like bishop c5. I don't know why. I feel like this is like black's most fundamentally cool and flexible move. I like developing my kingside pieces. That's why I play this move. e5, knight f6, bishop c5 feels very fundamental to me. You know, a lot of people like knight c6, right, Nefedov? Would you play the classic? Do you play this? Well, you don't play this apparently because you play knight takes c4. Yeah, I play many things, says Nefedov. All right, so knight takes c4, queen h5, and now knight d6. And so now bishop e3 is the main line. Queen e5 check is a wimp out. Just want to check the state of this 0.1 advantage. 0.1 advantage. Very safe variation for white. Dubov had history game recently in this line with what color? Dubov always has interesting games. You know, one of the few people who actually plays interesting stuff. But with the chicken variation, did this happen? I don't think that Dubov would play queen takes c5 check. Bishop e3. And now, oh my god. Come on, bro. So you know the main line, right? I mean, the main line is like extremely famous. Knight c6, defending the pawn on e5. Then white undermines, said knight on d6, threatening mate on f7. Then black plays g6. Then white plays queen f3. Then black plays f5. Then white plays queen d5. You know, then queen e7, blah, blah, blah. You sack this over here and then takes. This is the Frankula, Count Chocula variation. And obviously that should not be played unless the players are well prepared. But there's also, and I was talking about Alyoukin Uva. Maybe it was this, wasn't it? Bishop e7. No, Alyoukin won a game in this. It must have been this. He did like later like h4 and knight g5. Here again, white can bail out with queen takes e5. Hakaruja against Nakimura. Fakamura, Haruja. So knight f3, knight c6, knight takes c5. That's another line. But what the heck is this? Wow. So Nefedov getting tricky with what is this? Giving the pawn back variation. I didn't know this is even a thing. There was a what? Oh no, the evil chess site? We can't say that. Kamer is seems good, but I mean, you know, he's kind of like, has he ever really like won a major tournament? I mean, he seems to be like a little bit overranked. He lost some really sick game against Van Forest the other day, no? Where he did knight g8 in a strange position on developing his knight or something. he was a prodigy who broke through in a great Grenke chess. The Grenke, when was it? Like years ago, right? And it took him a while to reach the top, but he's really now number like 5 in the world or something. But I mean, maybe he's not quite that good. So I didn't know this is a thing, but I'm just checking it here. It's been played first in 1995. It's probably older than that. The funny thing about this move is that it's just appeared occasionally, popping up here and there. Wonder, where Nefedov came up with it, or if it was just over-the-board inspiration. But most notably, it was played by Wesley So in 2019. Which is hard to believe that's like some accident, but who knows. Even these guys are human, and they play random stuff sometimes. It's entirely possible that Wesley just threw this out there in one particular game. I don't know, Wesley. Queen TC5 check. Okay, it looks safe. You're trading queens. You have a little bit of weaknesses in your position. You're taking with the bishop, I assume. And then you're playing bishop d8. The problem is that g6 is not really helping us. So white doesn't play... wow, white does not play knight d5 here. The obvious move is knight d5. Black will play bishop d8. And then the question is, can white do anything about it? If knight d5, bishop d8, I mean, these squares are weak. But can you do anything about it? So actually won this position with black. That's like Caruana winning on the black side of the Petrov. Another guy, Bergens, was a German player, won in a game. So black has 2.5 out of 3. Nefedov was the first one to lose. Well, no. We don't know if there's other games. Well, he didn't lose because of the opening. But it looks like knight d5 here and now d4. This is kind of slow. So knight f3 white has a good score. But meaningless games. I mean, a Renegade from 2001 and then Ferenc Gombots Jr. losing with black against the 2200. Yeah, knight f3 looks pretty good. Black is definitely worse. That bishop on b3 is difficult to deal with. Knight f3 looks like a good move, man. I wouldn't repeat this. I don't know how we're going to set up. You're going to castle. d4. I don't understand c6 that much. You could play rook e8. This doesn't look fun for black, and it's definitely not really Nefedov's style. Maybe that's the biggest problem with this position, is not Nefedov's style. Queen e7, bishop e7. If you take back g6 to g7, I think you're fine. d4, castles. So d4 is a novelty. Now bishop f4. But d4 looks a little bit weak. You can attack it. I would expect knight c6. But you're going to play in Berlin defense style with like knight f5. Knight f5. Wait, this pawn on c7 is hanging. So knight f5, c6, d5. So you played rook e8, which was my suggestion in an earlier position. But so it's better to go here. See, white, like in the Berlin, white can always do this and mess with you. You not let you execute that structural change you want to make by just playing d5 at the last second. It looks like white's always going to be better. There's not a lot you can do about it. It's not a great variation. It's interesting, the Artemiev against So from 7 years ago. It looks like Artemiev he didn't know that this is the way to go. Probably just knight f3. There's no reason to play knight d5 necessarily. Tempting. Probably rapid or blitz. d4, castles, bishop f4, and looks very good for white. Castles queenside. Easy to play. Nefedov, if you were white, you would like crush me here in a simul. There's even like h4, h5. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is really disturbing. I don't know what to do. Our position is like a salad. Bishop f8. You can't move your queenside pieces. They're frozen. This is seriously bad. Knight f5, and I'm wondering about even like g4. I guess there you have knight h4. But you're so hurting in development here. Even with the queens off, it doesn't matter that much. You know, it looks like you're losing to a computer. Computer kill you here. Computer win like 105 out of 100 games with white's position. Can Nefedov hold him off? The queenside pieces are just in like a cryo freeze. Still removing the same pieces again. And I don't feel like Nefedov's even done anything clearly wrong. It's just that he still hasn't been able to move any of his pieces. Sorting things out. g4 is dangerous. Here, oops, the e-file. Man, this is a massacre. God, I think we're just lost. Well, I mean, Christ. Knight g7 is best. I'd borderline rather quit chess. Yeah, this is very depressing. Okay. So now you just need like 2 moves to get out. b6 and bishop e7. Or b5, bishop b7. g4 is still in the works. Bishop takes d6. Why does white always see? Because he's going to have the knight hitting c8 at the end. God, this is like terrible. So, I mean, you've really got to ask yourself what went wrong here. You played an experimental move in the opening that's been played by some decent players. You traded queens. The guy comes up with a novelty here on move 8. Knight f3 honestly looks good. Knight d5 kind of looks like the reason why white didn't win those games. It's aggressive looking, but it doesn't really do anything. And black ends up gaining a tempo back with like c6. But the question is d4 better than or equal to knight f3? And the answer is yes. d4 is the number 1 move. Then Nefedov castled. The computer recommends knight c6. I like knight c6. But it's not like a panacea. This transposes. Notice, Ivic versus Stoyanov. Knight f3. 2 games. White won both. Now we know how to beat Nefedov. With the, Okay. But I've got to be critical now of Nefedov's opening repertoire. Alright? I'm going to say this. You know, this is my takeaway. Forget about like how badly he lost the game or whatever. After e5, bishop c4, I I think that black has a lot of good moves, right? You have knight c6, you have bishop c5, maybe even bishop e4. And obviously, the text move knight takes e4. This is an aggressive move, which allows white this chance to sack, to give us this rook sack crazy line. So what's our intention here? Are we trying to be safe, or are we trying to lure? We're trying to play some wild position, because I'm not really sure like which one it is. Is this a safe variation or is this a risky variation? I'm not sure I understand. Like I don't know. To go knight c4, it's an aggressive move, but is the point to like equalize after knight c4, d5, bishop d3? Or are we trying to lure white into a very dangerous type of position? There's an Ivic game. He's a schoolmate of yours. But Ivic is Croatian, right? Okay. That's crazy. Wow. I never met him, but I know like one of the Croatian coaches who worked with him. This guy Darko Doric, who's an arbiter. I don't know much about Ivic. Actually, he played. No, I saw him at. We had a match. They played, a bunch of the Croatian guys played for one of the teams in the Hungarian team championship. Ivic played, Saric played, and Burkic played. This was like 5 years ago. He's not Croatian. Oh, that's weird. But he plays for Croatia, no? Are you serious? He's Russian. Oh, I'm sorry, he's Russian. What do you mean he's not Croatian? You gotta be... He's not Croatian, he's Serbian? Are you serious? There's something, though. He plays with all the Serbians. I mean, all the Croatians. He was playing with Saric and Burkic. I just assumed he's also Croatian. I thought he was Croatian. I don't know, man. He's either Croatian or he played for Croatia. One or the other. He's got some kind of connection with Croatia. Maybe I'm making that up. Okay, then he just plays with them. Then he just plays on their team. I don't know. So he's Serbian, okay. But anyway, he's close with the Croatian guys. They played on the same team. Saric, Ivan, Ivic, and Burkic. So I just assumed they're all like buddies. Okay. He's not Croatian. My bad. Weird, though. Maybe he's from Western Serbia or something. I mean, I don't know. What do I know about Serbo-Croatian politics, Nefedov? Don't threaten me, Nefedov. Threaten me. Nefedov will resign. He'll resign from the analysis if I talk about politics. All right, I've been corrected. So Ivic is Serbian. I'm still confused, though. I feel like there's something there. Some connection to Croatia that I don't fully understand. All right, so knight takes e4. Why is Nefedov playing this, though? There's lots of options. The classical knight c6. Anyway, all right, moving on. Itan is up next. So this is I stand corrected. I was wrong. claiming he's... My memory failed me. Well, you can change your federation, though, Eaton. Richard Rapport is not Romanian, but he did change his federation to Romania. A lot of players are born in one country, changing their federation to a different federation. You know, you just pay a fee and you change your federation. I'll have to do more research on the subject, you know, come more better prepared. Nefedov was not born in the UK, but he now represents the British Federation. Alright, so he is Serbian, my bad. So d4, f5, c4, knight f6, knight f3. This is played on the evil chess site Chess.mom. Yeah, occasionally I'm wrong about stuff. Especially about people that I'm old enough to be their dad. So, knight f3, e6. Yeah. I don't understand playing knight c3 here. You know? I don't really get it. I mean, your options include g3, 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 or g3. G3 is the best move. I'm surprised White has such a good score with knight to c3, though. Look at that. White has a very winning score with knight c3. Knight c3, like, what's the problem? Like, people didn't play bishop b4 or what? I would play this all day. I would play the Dutch every single game if my opponents promised to play knight f3, knight c3, and let me play f5 for free. It's a 4 knights in Nimzo where black plays f5 over his knight illegally. This is a good position for black. It's a good Nimzo. I swear, I would play this all day long. The problem is if black doesn't play bishop b4, his results are bad. You know, you play something stupid like bishop e7. No, bishop f4, that's like... Now we're going to start talking about Serbian stuff. Schumacher would do stuff like that against me. I hate that against the Dutch. It's so stupid, you know. It seems like the stupidest place to play. Schumacher was here. You don't know him, but he's another Serbian player. So it's like the bishop just constantly gets attacked on f4. Knight h5, h6, g5, d6, e5. It's just... a3 maybe, Sinus, makes some sense. No, a3 is not stupid. This is like an English... You could transpose to an English defense after b6. No, a3 is not so stupid, although... If you're going to play a3, then I play g6, I'll be like, whatever. Just play like a weird Dutch. I just don't really think that White has any other options. Like, you almost have to play g3. The only other setup that might be logical is e3. And that's really just a Queen's Indian. So I hate this. Okay. Black has to play bishop e4. This is like forced, bro. Look at the score. Look at that. Black is doing fine against White with bishop e4, but no other moves are okay. This is ridiculous. Okay, c6. He wants to play the stone wall. I think like you could even play d5 probably, you know. Cracky crab. Yeah, now your bishop f4 is more justified. Oh, c6 is gross. So black really wants to play the stone wall. And you know, the old myth was that knight c3 against the stone wall is bad. And that's not even true, it turns out. After all these years, Petrosian's been dead for like 35 years. and it even more. I don't know now, 40 years, and it turns out like he could have played knight c3. He always played like knight d2 against the stone wall. Maybe black plays like d6 type of stuff. Although white's threatening queen c2 and e4. I would think this is a very good move. Ivan Farago, 1990. Not a guy you want to face on the black side of this. Yeah, the c6 move order against knight h3 type stuff. No, Ivan would kill almost anybody here. Just solid positional play. He didn't play... Yeah, he did play this. I like queen c2 a lot. You know, you're threatening e4 right away, game over. And so black has to play d5. And now you have a crappy stone wall. Now you have Nefedov-Kamsky. It's the Nefedov-Kamsky attack. The anti-stone wall with an extra move. Now your bishop f4 makes sense because it can't be attacked by e5 so easily. This is... I talked about this last week. The web of dark squares, web of white squares, whatever, web of dark squares. Rubinstein. Rubinstein did like this, like e3, g3. I think it was actually against someone good like Schlechter. So, awful position for black. So now you did g3. g3 is fine, but queen c2 is even better. The problem is that queen c2 forces black to make this move he doesn't really want to make, which is d5. g3 doesn't. So now black can revert to some kind of Simon Williams type of crap. Maybe. Although it's still probably bad, objectively. Yeah. Okay, g3 is fine. d5. Oh. That's playable, but why now? Why not do it before? Now you have bishop d2. You don't have to play bishop d2, but I think it's fine. I don't know. I lean toward bishop d2. Queen b3 needs to be considered because it's a tempo. There's no c5, obviously. And I don't know what exactly black plans on doing there. Maybe queen b3 is also possible. So you just ignore it. Okay, it's fine. He takes unprovoked with weaknesses on the dark squares. And then that move. Okay, that's really ridiculous. So black has to try to patch up. I mean, bishop takes c3 check is so bad. There's just no call for that. Anything's better than bishop takes c3. d6, castles. Why release the tension? You should just not defend the pawn. So castle, I guess. The only question is, like, if queen a5, what do we do? So takes. Don't love this. Maybe you have a better move. Like, you have a neat move, knight d2. I prefer sacking this pawn rather than defending it in a stupid way, you know. Yeah, even knight d2. The computer thinks everything is good for white. So, I mean, the first thing is if here, knight takes pawn, queen there, you know, he's got to play that. So it looks like knight d2 is even the best. Right. So now at this point, yeah, hindsight is 2020. You have knight d2, and if queen takes, what do we do? Do you have a4 cutting him off? Or you trap his queen or something? Oh no. Oh no. Yep. That's a funny queen trap. Okay, so what happened here? Black played queen a5, you castled, and then he took the pawn. Oh no, speaking of Croatian grandmasters, I'm just kidding. Now, Indic I know is Serbian. There was never any confusion on my mind. Now that I think about it, like, I think I realized that originally the Ivic was Serbian, but again, because he was hanging out with Croatian guys, I just kind of like changed it in my mind. So Indic has a game. He's a very interesting player. He's had some good results. Castles, and his opponent played queen takes c3, and black got away with this. Well, first of all, there's like no clear way to trap the knight. But I was wondering, could we try to trap the queen? Indic didn't do it here, but I mean, it looks like it's possible. But like no obvious way. Like queen b3, queen a1, bishop e2, something like that. That doesn't avoid trading queens, by the way. You know, this is like a big fat tempo. Another, probably the only way though. Here black would have like a million moves, but I imagine white has very good compensation. White's better. Not surprised. But it's interesting that Indic traded, and I'm not sure if he should trade or not. Let's see. Queen b3 is the second best move. So what he did is fine. But he played bishop b2. Crazy. So obviously rook e1, very natural. Indic played bishop b2. Iatan improved on Indic over the board game with the natural rook e1. And now black plays d5, which, turning off the engine for a minute just to talk about the position. Look at the compensation. This is perversely weak. This whole complex. Black has no development. We have Nefedov like queenside pieces. Nefedov thinks I'm picking on him, but I'm just using what I've got. You know, this is the material I've got for today. This is very good position. Two bishops. Still, looking at a very long game if white is to try to win here somehow. This seems like a reasonable move by black. Rather than just give up the dark squares, black places upon a dark squares trying to stake out some dark square control. The obvious problem is bishop a3. You put the pawn on d6, but what do you do after bishop a3? Are you just going to have to move it again? Are you going to put your king on e7? Are you going to put your king on d7? You're going to play knight e4? Probably knight e4, right? If bishop a3, knight e4, but we can undermine that knight. It's going to take a while, though, isn't it? We're going to have to move f3. We don't have a clearly good square for this knight on f3. So, that's why the computer comes up with knight d2. So it's like proactively taking that out of the equation. Now the knight has to give back a pawn or go through a4. This is a very strong move. So bishop d2 not so good. You know, I didn't mention also, of course, NPC's bishop f4, but that's similar. If you could play bishop f4, it's not as good as bishop a3 probably. First of all, this is better, and plus here you still have knight e4 to deal with. So it's not an easy move to find in a 10-minute game. Knight d2. Bishop d2, knight e4, and now this, which is a worse version of bishop a3. Black's only problem is that if you play c5, you gotta watch this. So it's not exactly clear how he tries to hold that on. I mean, knight a6 maybe. You can support c5. I'm not a big fan of a5. I don't really understand it, you know. When I see a5, I'm thinking you're going to have to be careful. First of all, are you going to play b5? Are you going to blow up this whole diagonal? And if you don't, so you play a5. If you don't play b5, I'm going to play rook b1 or something. And this is going to end up being maybe an issue for black. So I would think black would avoid playing a5 here and just develop his pieces. I mean, anything. Knight a6, knight d7. Black's position is not that bad if he plays sensibly here. a5 is the best move. Well, maybe he was using an engine. I don't know. a5 is the best move. I wouldn't play it. So b5 must be good. It's all tactics, boys. Takes, knight g5. b4. Phew, I couldn't calculate this far. Oh, it turns out it's okay. But he has to follow up very actively. He has to play b5. And he doesn't do it. Maybe he was scared. I would have been scared, but having said a5, you have to say b5. Right? Masturbate? Guys, don't forget to donate. We do a little bit of chess on the side, you know, when we're not commentating on politics and quoting Elie Wiesel. So bishop a3, yeah, this is inconsistent. This is a little weird. So you weaken this diagonal, but you don't have the b5, b4, and you're clearly tied down along the b file. I thought you would play rook b1 now. I guess he has bishop a6, huh? This is a new idea. But that's fine. I mean, you can bring your e-rook to c1. I think that's his idea, though, come to think of it. Pawn is a pawn down. Well, yeah, you're a pawn down, but you have compensation. I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on counting the material, although sometimes we get carried away. Let's put it this way. There are far more cases where people emphasize material too much than not enough. You know, we need to lean more on the side of not being materialistic. Most players. This move, I feel very controversial about this move. Your knight is on the side of the board. I don't like it. The only instance where I like this would be if you like had a very speedy sort of d5 break or something. I mean, this looks like a bad idea. There's no way in a million years I would play knight h4. I mean, I guess it's your only way to play f3. That's true. So in that sense, it's kind of concrete. But if g5, Even this version, I don't really get it, what we're doing. Okay, so we're going to take d6. I get it. Alright, now I get it. You're undermining d6. Okay, so no g5. Black should not play g5. I still don't like knight h4. No, this is also a problem. Between, like, bishop a6 and knight d2, black can rather put a lot of pressure on the c4 pawn. So he plays king e7. This is double-edged. If f3 and like e4 happens, what the heck is black gonna do? Oh man. I guess he's gonna have to try some crazy g5. So if you play f3 right away, like I kind of wonder why you didn't play this right away. I guess the answer is knight d2, attacking this. You ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. And then if rook c1, the guy has that, which is what I was afraid of in the first place. Yeah, so that's why you didn't play f3. But what do you have instead? This is the million-dollar question now. Takes, and f3. And now, okay, it's opposite colored bishops. Yes. And now our knight always has a retreat square, which is good. Nice. Okay, so now you've got a technical position where you're better developed. Black's going to have to be very careful. I can't help but wonder if maybe he should play g5. Yeah. This, I swear to God, I didn't look at the analysis, but this is, it's like, it looks like a stupid move, right? Oh, I moved all my pawns. But honestly, driving that back to a relatively passive square, of course it can rejoin the game. The pawns are dark squares. We can back it up with h6 if we have to. There's no immediate problems. I'm not planning on even taking here. You know, I don't think we have to. I think what black might be able to sacrifice the pawn on e4. So rather than take on f3, if bishop a6, you have this. This is an annoying move. That protects that guy. But again, now we can start doing like b5 or something. I'm not sure black even has to exchange on f3. So g5 was a really good move. He didn't find it. Plays this. And you played the obvious, you know, obvious rook c1. What's the problem with rook c1? It looks like a good move. Bishop a6 may be overrated. What about like other moves for black? b5. So you're gonna take on e4. If here, here. You got another one where that came from, as they say. Like e4, for example. Ripping him a new one. Yeah, opposite bishop positions are very unforgiving, as we've talked about many times here on the stream. Guys, I forgot, you know what I forgot to do? Oh my God. All this time we've been streaming, and nobody reminded me, and you guys are at fault. Somebody owes me a gift sub. I forgot to turn on the stream on Lichess. Are you guys with me or against me? Are you my friends or my enemies? Like, seriously. I hate that Lichess made it like this, but now I forgot to turn on the Lichess. So all this time I've been streaming and no one's even watching. I could have had like 10 more viewers. It's so stupid. If I don't press the stupid button, if I don't flip the stupid switch, then my stream doesn't show up on Lichess. How stupid is that? Stupid feature check? Alright. That's 5 or 10 viewers we could have had. So stupid. Whatever. Alright, back to where we were. As if we have any viewers anyway. So, there I am. First in line. I'm the only streamer on Lichess who's not like a chess girl. I guess I'll join thanks to Twitch notification. I don't think it helps much, but yeah. I don't think even the Lichess helps much. No one cares. But someone wrote a blog called My Problem with the Encyclopedia of Chess Openings. Bro, I just want to like send you into the moon or something. Stupidest who would waste their time with such idiocy, you know? Idiocy, really. Anyway, we're back to this analysis here. So, anyways, rook AC1 takes. This looks a little scary, man. Did black have to do that? Of course not. Opening the line for you along the e-file? Why? Because he's materialistic, like most people. Okay, first of all, b5. If you take, you're threatening to penetrate on the 7th. I wonder how dangerous it really is. Let's say, takes, check, knight d7. Rook here. Oh boy. No, seriously, like, what are you going to do? Black's threatening b4, kind of shutting you down. Doesn't look too easy. Bishop's going to have to come back. Maybe black can survive this. Black's like winning. Wow. So that's nothing. It's literally nothing for you. Wow. The b5 is second best move after g5. b5 or g5? Takes here, opening lines for you. Shocky. Oh no, is the Jerome Gambit blog written by AI? By violated terms of service. Donald Trump hung a picture of himself with Putin in the White House from their meeting in Alaska. Why not like hang up the AI generated like walking with the penguin hand in hand or something like that, dude? Why doesn't it say like Donald Trump employee of the month, the Kremlin or something, you know? God, just waking up when it's over. I hope I'm still alive when this chapter is over. Yeah, no, Lichess blogs, the U.S. government, it's all the same. I get that Lichess is like a communist chess site and stuff, but there has to be some way to rein in the blog trash, you know? I get it that we don't have a right to discriminate whose blog is better. There's got to be a way. I mean, just put it away from the front page of the site. That's all I want. All I ask. Just put it somewhere a little bit to the side. It's embarrassing, you know. It's really embarrassing for the entire site. Okay. E takes f3. E takes f3. Rook e8, defending, and then knight f5 check. Oh no. Oh no. This reminds me of what was it? Oh, that's a beautiful move. Wow. That's funny though. Yeah. I didn't know it was AI generated, but I'm not surprised. That one. Yeah, I don't think that's even like a real opening. King d7. And now knight takes d6 or knight takes g7. So you took the wrong way, although it's tempting. I see this position and I'm like, okay, knight takes c6 looks good, but then what's the next move? I think that's why Iatan made this mistake now. Because knight takes c6 looks good, but where's the follow-up? And maybe the point is, like, our position is so good we don't need a follow-up. It's just kind of long-term. Like, basically, black can't move his knight. You look and you're like, well, what am I going to do next, you know? What's my next move? You don't really need a next move. Rook b1, if I had to, like, throw something out there. Just piling up on the B line. But the point is, like, white's probably winning, you know, slowly here. But I think that the reason why it's better to take on d6 than g7 is because of just generally, like, control of the center. It's a central pawn. It controls e5. You're going to get a lot of benefits from that. This is tempting. And you probably saw this, you know, I would think, which looks good too. Well, you're obviously better, much, much better either way. There's some d5s in there. This is what I expected. But so maybe, like, this isn't that easy to win. Now material is even. You have a huge initiative, but black's still hanging on. And that kills your bishop. Double purpose move. Kills his bishop. It gives black a square for the knight on c6. Shit. So just imagine the difference now. If we had done this instead, there's no c5. I mean, there is, but your whole position blows up in the process. And you could just slowly kill him. So, tempting, but not as good. And now, he finds this really good move, c5. And suddenly black is alive. I wouldn't say black is alive and well, but black is alive. Your bishop is not alive. So your biggest priority at this point, I think, is to be careful that bishop on a3 comes back to life. This bishop needs to regroup. Check. Fine. Oh, you didn't check. Okay, so you took on c5. I don't know how bad that is. But check is very natural. I don't know where black should put the king. I was thinking he would put the knight on c6. So the problem is you have that immediate tactic, knight d5 check. His other option looks like d8, but then this is problematic as well. So he goes to c6, keeping this protected, avoiding tactics, protecting c5, but his knight only has d7. You still have knight d5 base stuff, and you also have rook b1, though bishop takes c4 will eliminate that. But he's really hurting not putting knight on c6. The knight wanted to go to c6. d5 check was better? What? I don't know about that. Instead of exchange and check, check immediately. Ah. Yeah, so he survived and he's okay. But as I said earlier, you're playing down a bishop at this point, so you got to get your bishop back. You're playing like your astrobate. Oh, you have a tactic. You're threatening bishop takes c5. Okay. And now there, it's like your 10th knight move in a row. And then black finally blundered. So he had to play what, rook e8 or something? Bishop c8. Yeah, it was a good game. You had him under pressure all the way. Now he's starting to fall apart. It's only one pawn. 2 pawns. It's bad. It's yeah. That's it. That's it. That's game. He can't lose 2 pawns here. And now he loses the exchange. No, he loses a pawn in the exchange. Oof. Alright. Yeah, interesting game. I don't think you should allow bishop b4 in the opening. You know, this is a no-no. Of course playable. Alright, now Pilium and who else? Canis Major Mahor. So, okay, this is Pili with black. Let's flip the board. It's a Nimzo. Good. I rarely see a Nimzo. What is this game? Is it 10 plus 5? Played here. Oh, this is... Wait. Sinus said sinus. Yeah, your game is next, right? What do we have, like all constellations and shit? Sinus, isn't that a constellation too? Sinus Major and Canis Major. For who can gift games looked at? Sub-only accounts? Get games looked at. Yeah, traditionally I do sub-only. But if you're really nice, someone might gift you a sub. This is unrated. I noticed in the Lichess, like, somewhere on Lichess, I realized that they mentioned that they don't really analyze the unrated games for cheating, which I thought was kind of weird, but they probably save a lot of time and energy by doing that. So, alright, bishop e4, and now we play bishop d2. This is a funny move, you know, like, it doesn't even have a name, yet it was played by Capablanca, Aliakhine, who else? In modern era, it was played by Peruvian Grandmaster, what's his name? Grande Zuniga. So, it's... I knew a guy when I was growing up in the 80s in New Jersey who was a master, who was famous for playing this. You know, it was like, my friend was like a huge Nimzo player, and the guy, they went to college together. Okay, this is by the 90s. In the early 90s, he went to the same college, and the guy was 2300, and he was still playing. He would always play this against the Nimzo, and my friend was like, "What do I do? You know, it's so annoying. I don't know what to do." There's like no theory on bishop d2 in any books. It's not considered like a real variation, and yeah, it's weird. I mean, I could never decide what really black should do, because you could do anything, but who's to say like what the best line for black is? That's what that particular master used to do. He had a strange repertoire with weird openings like this. He played the Lowenthal with black. There's an advantage to that. Alright, anyway. So you decided to play c5. I think, no, principally speaking, I like to play in Nimzovich style. That's more stylistic than principle, but I play b6 a lot. One thing I wonder about is, in the case of b6, e4, bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, knight takes c4. See here, Granda versus Rivas Pastor. So Granda's actually done this with white. I like thought of this myself, like, well, it's very deep, you know. I figured this out myself years ago and played it in some blitz games with white, but, you know, it's like kind of an unusual variation where white can try to play for the initiative. I think the d5 is extremely principled. but a move that's not popular with Nimzo players so much. You're just turning into like a Rogozin Queen's Gambit where white has played a passive move. So basically black can play anything. There's another Granda game. He beat Grandelius. Granda versus Grande. I have a vague recollection of that. That was 10 years ago. In probably like Weikanze. I don't know where they played. Grande. Granda still has a high rating, although he hardly plays, and he apparently like doesn't study chess at all. I heard he's like the laziest chess player ever. Anyway, bishop d2, reliable sources. Bishop d2, c5, another principled move. But I will say this: that in these cases where white takes on c5, it's really not so stupid. The bishop on d2, maybe. It's a lot like a Queen's Gambit accepted. Of course, this is not super aggressive, bishop on d2. c5 is good. White can play a3, though. You must be learning the Nimzo because versus me, you knew all the lines. Who are you talking to? a3 takes. By the way, like, this is rarely good, but you have to check them. Sometimes this type of line is playable. So if a3, bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3. I've had this before. And you're like, yeah, you have to go here. This is extremely boring. Harman Kardon. Doesn't he make like speakers? There's someone with that name for real. All right. Yeah, there's a subculture of players who play this crap. It's like, let's just put it this way. In the ancient times, like back in the early 2000s or the 90s, there was really almost no games with this crap for white. So now it's like a real variation. What a pathetic way to play with white against a Nimzo, though. Okay, c5, e3. That's harmless. e3 is probably like slightly inferior. So we're happy to see e3. Probably a3 is better. I mean, there's one other possibility, right? Taking on c5, as I said. Well, actually, no. There's two other possibilities. You could also play knight f3. That's super boring, right? Also lame. But I feel like this makes more sense, because you're going to have to take with the bishop on c5 in most cases. So let's see. Castles. Knight f3. Even people have played knight a6. And now if g3. Are we going to transpose? We're going to transpose. We can't transpose if it's not a classical Nimzo. He hasn't played queen c2. I don't know what this is. Bishop g2. So it's like a classical Nimzo that's not a classical Nimzo. You just play b6. It's very hard to say. Okay, e3. Now what do we do? It's very easy to exchange to like a Panov. What do you do with light square bishop? The answer is it depends. I've had this position before. I imagine I've castled and I've taken on d4. It's tempting to play b6, but I'm a little afraid it might be not that good. No one has dared to play b6. Another interesting possibility here, played in 2 games, is d6. I'll tell you something. If you play d6, there's also a danger here that white is going to play knight on g to e2. Imagine if white plays knight on g to e2. Welcome to the Rubinstein variation. And probably not a bad one for white, because bishop d2 is played fairly often in those types of positions. There's still a chance white can transpose back into a sort of, so like d6, for example, white played bishop d3, but I would think like this would be perfectly okay. Knight 92, probably. So I'm not super excited about d6. CD4, ED4, D5, and it's a Panov. CD4, ED4, D5, and what does white do? Take. Queen A4 checks nothing. We can't do anything weird like C5, but he's tried. That doesn't seem right. So knight F3. Now, watch this. Castles. We're transposing some kind of weird Panov here. Knight takes d5 or e takes d5, both playable. And now after bishop d3, there's gonna be a direct transposition to a straight up Panov. So if you do this, you're letting white get into an absolutely legit, 100% good variation. White is like a little bit better. That's what I'm afraid of. You know, I don't like, honestly, taking on d4. It seems like kind of a positional surrender. You can play b6, and then again, you got these. Among white's other options, include knight on g to e2, which is a transposition to a Rubinstein variation. So it's hard to say what to do. You played d5. This is very principled. And now, I guess a3. Wow. I thought white would play a3 now. So if he plays a3, you have to take on c3. That's okay. You can play knight e4. What's your plan? You're going to regain your bishop? Axel Gergo has a game with white where he won, though he plays all kinds of weird stuff. Black played knight e4. And here he played knight e2. And his opponent played queen h4, which is pretty crazy. Wow. I don't really get doing that, you know. Is it a good move? It's not really necessary, but yeah, already it looks like black has kind of gone astray. So what if we just castle? If white plays a3, we have to take. And now the question is, do we do that knight e4 thing? Man, white has a slight edge here. It's weird. You know, look at that. Plus point, okay, 0.1. We can deal with that. 0.1 isn't much. But it's a really boring variation where black has like no chances to play for a win. I've been frustrated by this as well. I like d5. Looks like a3 is best. This is a weird move. It's still okay. Okay, here. C takes d5, fine. You should just recapture. Unless you want to play the Henning Shara Gambit. Anybody? But I don't like giving up your bishop here. What's the point if we take with the pawn? I think this should be the default move for black. It's going to be basically a semi-Tarrasch. We have an IQP. We're playing the white side of the There's a problem with knight a4. Very likely. I'm not certain about it. Wow, bishop takes knight e4. I'm winning. Okay. Okay, knight a4. Okay, it's not surprising that's bad. So he cannot keep this pawn. This is my point. My criticism would be this move. Bishop takes e3. Don't think this is necessary. See, IQP, I thought. What does that mean? You know, this is a systemic problem. It's like similar to the way people in, you know, in America are being murdered by immigration officials. There's a sort of systemic misconception. The IQP is bad, and it's not. You know, it's not. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not good. It's a thing that can be good and can be bad depending on the situation. Exactly, Sinus. And I think this is a huge bias among chess players. Now, if you're a total beginner, you don't know what an IQP is. You probably don't care, you know. But if you've learned chess to some degree, a little bit of information can be a very dangerous thing. You know, I think that way too many players are afraid to have IQP or isolated pawns in general. This is a total misconception, and I'm sure there's a lot of bad information floating around in YouTube videos and TikTok or whatever about chess. If random players start making videos and they don't know what they're doing, they'd be like, you have to avoid the IQP because, you know me, OPP and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a major misconception. It's also the way, like, people are way too materialistic. They believe all IQPs are bad. But this is a position where your IQP is okay. You know, you have good compensation for that. The IQP is strong. It's not weak. It's strong and weak, if you want, we could say. It can be strong or it can be weak. It might be both. But it's not necessarily one or the other. You know what I mean? In this case, this pawn is like having an extra piece in the center of the board. I like to think of it as a strength, not a weakness. This is like having a big piece in the middle of the board that prevents the opponent from using these like key squares. It's not a bad thing. Now, if you trade pieces with knight takes d5, knight takes d5, e takes, you know, bishop takes d2, takes, you trade all the pieces off, and you go into an endgame, well, now it's getting a little different. Even if we get this pawn back, in the endgame, I think with more of the pieces off the board, this is middle game strategy. More pieces are traded, the more simplified the position gets, the more the static weakness is like exponentially growing in importance. So I don't like you're giving up your bishop here under any circumstances. But yeah. Now, all jokes aside, I think in this variation, you probably have a tiny bit of compensation. I'll bet it's like half a pawn. No, I was a little too optimistic. 0.7. Just to prove a point, though, you know. Like, as far as let's say, active pieces and development go, it's 0.7. It's not quite good enough, but it's close. I'd still rather do that than like bishop takes c3. But I think this is kind of forced. You don't want to take with knight and trade pieces. You want to take with the e-pawn. And after knight f3, bishop takes c5. Black is 2-0. Check that out. Just a coincidence. Okay, Fernando Peralta was one of the players against the 2300. He's 300 points higher, almost. Black is 2-0 in this position. It looks like a very normal semi-Tarrasch. But actually that bishop is oftentimes on b2. He's going to go to c3. White's solid, but black is fine. So anyway, D takes c5. Big mistake now. Bishop takes c3. Knight takes d5. And, you know, you're not guaranteed to get this pawn back. Something's going to happen, like bishop d2, and then you attack the pawn, he protects it, you attack it again, and he like pushes it, and he, you know, gives it to you under his terms or something. White also has b4 pretty obviously coming up next if he needs it, which is what he did. So you're nowhere close to... You're nowhere close to where you need to be here. You need to, like, already win that pawn. You need to have, like, your knight on c5 to be okay here. I think, essentially. Or something. At least your queen on c5. You're in big trouble. Knight c5. Okay, b4. Now you're down a pawn. I mean, yeah, there's nothing you do. I don't know. Consider a5. Govin T has subscribed over on YouTube, and Cool Fast Grill, making me hungry. Eugene Av earlier had followed. I didn't mention that. Guys, please subscribe. Gift subs are welcome. A5, maybe like trying to prevent b4. I don't know how much time you have here, but I think the pawn on c5 is really disruptive. Another radical idea for black would be to sack a pawn. But I'll be honest with you, like that pawn on c5 is so powerful that you might want to seriously consider this. If I can't win it, I'd like to at least like get it off the board, because it's like in my airspace and it's cramping me. You know, so you're probably better off doing that. If you get something like this, you can play maybe bishop a6. Might claim some compensation here. I wouldn't be surprised if b6 is like one of black's best moves. So anyway, knight d7, b4, very good for white. And then you had an idea, which I had missed. Okay, queen f6. Some development. White probably has to play rook c1. He should consider it at least. You have this as an interesting move. These pieces are still problematic. You can try a5 though. Maybe a5 is going to work in conjunction with queen f6 a bit, you know, to give you some play. Remember, it's the Nimzo. White's king is in the center of the board. Your king side is castled. You're safe. And the fact that he's up a pawn may not matter if he gets checkmated and he doesn't complete his development. So queen f6 is primitive as it looks. Not such a stupid idea. You've got invasions down here. You've got the a5. He plays knight f3 now. Now this is looking a little weak. Looks like you can hit him with some sort of a5. You've also got to watch e4. But what about a5? With the queen on f6, you're double attacking the x-ray down there to a1. So this is like a moment where you have a chance to play a5. If he takes, okay, fine. We take this one, which is more important anyway. I think you could possibly throw this in there. So knight c3, if it does something, it's good. Maybe maybe this isn't so bad. I mean, you do have... I'm afraid your knight will get trapped, though. Is your knight going to get trapped? Rook c1, knight a2. Oh my god, it's like rook c1, knight a2. Roach Motel. It's a Roach Motel. You have no way to save your knight on a2 after rook c2. That's terrible. So it's a shot in the dark, basically. After knight c3, rook c1, you probably have to play knight back to e4. and you just kind of invested some time for nothing. His move is okay. It's not quite as fancy. Knight e4, and now bishop c4, finally getting his pieces developed. And then knight e5, and you've got something there. Ironically, maybe bishop c4 was a little too direct, huh? Yo, I mean, what does that do anyway? Like, it just looks good. He could put it on e2. He could put it on d3, attacking your knight on e4. But instead, he puts it on c4, where it doesn't really threaten anything. It doesn't really threaten anything. Yeah, it doesn't really threaten anything, but it is easy to attack. Knight c3, rook c1, knight c1. Oh my god, are you serious? I was suggesting that? I told you I have COVID or something. I'm sitting here seriously analyzing this. Yeah. You should have seen a move I made in the simul. Yeah, I'm not normal. Okay. Yeah, queen c1 is forced. Thank you. Sometimes you have to reset me and I'll just start going down a different line. I'm like an AI. That was like a bad... sorry. It was my AI. It was a bad AI variation. I would have just gone to bed like thinking that was normal, what I suggested there. I hung a queen in my simul on Sunday too. I think I have COVID, by the way. Okay, queen f6, knight f3. This is fine. Knight c3 isn't so bad, but queen c1 still was good. Knight e4, you have to go back. And then rather than bishop c4, this makes more sense. Or even the safe bishop e2. He still can take with a knight here. No problem there. So this seems kind of dumb. Knight e5. And now he's screwed. Or not. The million-dollar question. Oh man, you're knocking out his protection, right? So by eliminating the protection of f3, you're eliminating the protection of d2, which is undermining the protection of a1. So it's all like a domino effect. You take on f3, you take on d2, you force him to take with the king or something stupid like that. All because he played bishop c4. So the point is, if you play bishop e2 now, I eliminate that guy, and then I eliminate that guy, and now white has to take with the king on d2, which obviously is suboptimal, leaving his king, not to mention g takes f. But now you suddenly have a very reasonable position. Maybe black is even better. Okay, so one mistake, bishop c4. There's a circle next to knight e5. It is a good move, yeah. Oh, the circle represents my diagrams. The circle's duh. Alright, so multimedia. Hey, I was thinking about something, guys. You know, on chess, on Lichess, I was really kind of bummed because I wanted to put like multimedia. There's no way to put multimedia inside of a study, right? It sort of sucks. Like I was thinking it would be cool if we could take a study and stick like a clip or something inside the studies. It's like this is like the 21st century. I don't want to use ChessBase. I hate ChessBase. You know, ChessBase can go to hell. Why can't I take like a Lichess study and stick some kind of... They should have some multimedia. Come on. They're getting a lot of donations. They could improve the site a little bit. Let us put multimedia inside of a study. You know, let me put a clip of a, you know, video of variation or something inside. Just a little suggestion. Knight takes e5. That's not going to work. That's not going to work out too well. So it's all hands on deck now for white. I want to take like a very simple program like, what's it called? The snipping tool on Microsoft, whatever comes with your computer. Use that, and you can do like little videos with it. Very easy, you know. But it doesn't accept like multimedia in the studies. Stupid. All right, 95. I mean, okay. I guess the problem is it's going to require space, and Lichess has to like host these studies. They're hosting all the studies forever. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's a workaround though. Somehow you could make it like you could download your own study or something, and then you would store it. Knight takes e5. Yeah, why does white have to do that? That's my last resort. Let me suggest something crazy here. Castle? Can I castle? Am I getting mated? This isn't mate yet, right? Doesn't look good, though. You could harass... I mean, white's like playing the hang on now, but you could harass him with the queen exchange threat or something like that. But seriously, bishop e2. You have better moves now? Do you have maybe rook d8? This is really dangerous, isn't it? What is white going to do after rook d8? Almost looks like he doesn't have a defense. Maybe white is that screwed? It's hard to believe, you know. No. Wow. He has to do what he did. That's unbelievable. Yeah, he literally has to what he did. But this takes some serious guts. Okay, knight takes e5. I was just thinking that black was winning with queen takes f2 check. Wow. Wow. So it's not. Unbelievable. Wonder how much time you spent on this move. You have 826 and you only spent 15 seconds on this move. Dude, I would spend like 3 minutes on this move. We have to seriously consider queen takes f2 check, king d1. Problem is this stupid bishop on c8 and you can't connect your rooks. Although honestly, this is very tempting. You know, you almost have like just in the nick of time type of stuff. You're really close to just winning outright, it feels like here. You need to spend more than 50 seconds on this move. I mean, okay, yeah, maybe knight takes c7, rook d8. I don't know, you know. At least it deserves a passing thought, because this doesn't look so simple. It's the zeros. Wow. Wow. Check this out, guys. 95. 95. Yeah, no, the computer... Okay, the computer said queen takes f2, didn't it? I think it probably implanted that idea in my brain. I probably didn't come up with that on my own. But I was afraid. I was afraid. Dude, this is sound. This is sound. But my move bishop d7 is... Yeah, maybe it's better. Wow, it's close. Well, I mean, there's also obviously queen takes here. This is inexcusable. By the way, to not at least give passing thought. You made the move very quickly. But he's getting to castle. This is a huge moment. If this doesn't work, you're seriously worse. So, you need to spend a chunk of your time really considering sacking a piece here. But after king d1, I would have found this. Rook d8 is also interesting. The thing is, he could interfere. I wasn't sure. No, with rook d8, the problem is he has this in between, like, sticking the knight in the way. But then again, it's still very complicated. It takes, and then you've got these, like, nightmare threats of, like, bishop g4 and stuff. Or, it's extremely complicated. Yeah. But you also can't play it unless you're sure it works. So I would spend 2 or 3 minutes in this position. Even if it's a 10-minute game. 95, but you took back. Okay, it's like the safe move. But you're down a pawn in an endgame against a higher rated player. Where you might have compensation. But I'm not sure, you know. So you have two options. You're clearly worse, or you're not sure what's going on. Seriously, if you have someone gives you a choice, like you have two options. You can be clearly worse, or you can be not sure, like, what the fuck is going on. Which one are you going to take, you know? So you take the one where you're clearly worse. Like, I think this is a bad decision. But, time also factors in. You have 8 minutes, the opponent has 5. Alright, so castles, and now you're like down a pawn with some compensation, but probably not enough. The more pieces you trade, the worse it's going to get. You want to try to avoid exchanging pieces, but your development is non-existent. So bishop d7, rook d8, something to destroy his pawns, if it's possible. You want to think about b6, although this is double-edged because we could be helping him. But I think this is kind of my default. Then again, if you don't take the bishop, he might go back Levon Aronian style, you know, with the bishop e1, actually Rubinstein, long ago. This is a serious... And I'm going to give you guys a secret knowledge that only I have. I think that people who've played the bishop d2 Nimzo have maneuvered this from bishop d2 to e1 before. I bet this has happened before. This is known to happen. It's very common. So maybe you felt like he was going to get away. But this looks like you're dead. You're down a pawn. He has control of the open file. And you can't connect your rooks. It's a lost position. And this is just sheer desperation. You had tons of chances in this game. But this is not enough. And your opponent was hasty and played this blunder. Money in the bank. He's up 2 pawns. Has a protected pass pawn on c5. And then there's some ghost threats here, which should not be ignored. But obviously white can play like f3 or f4, defend laterally, take control of the open file, bring his bishop back to f1 or something like that. But instead he plays this hasty move, which gives you a pawn back. Huge pawn. And now it's a game again. So he goes from clearly winning to, like, it's not clear if he's winning. Queen d5, takes. Technical endgame, it's a whole different ballgame now. You know, is this guy good enough to grind you down in a technical endgame with an outside pawn? In a heavy piece endgame, not so easy. a4. Yeah, this is the time is going to play a factor here. You should try to be active, maybe create some threats. I was kind of looking at this. Can we defend and attack at the same time by using, you know, the rooks? I'm not sure you're doing the right thing. Maybe this is best. Grabbing open file. He's going to have to play, I guess, like queen b2. Another idea, I don't know. I mean, I would probably want to go with something like, rook d5. But if you had more time, maybe like rushing your h-pawn at him is an idea. But objectively, okay, white is much better. b5, a6, ba6. This is probably a mistake for him. A pawns in general are inferior, or rook pawns. So I think if white has a choice here, he should go with the B pawn. He should keep a B pawn on the board, not the A pawn. The A pawn is nice because it's outside, but there's a lot of endgames that are drawn because A pawns are sort of semi-retarded. A pawns are worth less if you go by like Keith Arkel's system, wherever, side pawns have less material value than like center pawns or something like that. B takes A6, Queen A6. You're getting closer to a draw now. A5, it's getting closer and closer to a draw. Now you have a solid blockade. He has a rook pawn. Now all you need to do is, like, first of all, make sure you don't get back rank mated and set up a very rigid blockade where you're active. This looks good. And now you're winning the pawn back, other than a back rank mate. Last chance, back rank mate, eliminated. So, is that it? Rook takes A5. Is there any trick with like rook D8? Rook D8? Nope. It's a draw. It's a little too late now for somebody to be playing for win. Okay, so that's a draw. And then finally we've got, what is this? Opponent versus Sinus. No, I mean, he should have kept first of all, kept the B pawn. But it's not an easy endgame. That's very complex endgame. I think you can't say definitively if it's a win. There are endgame books that are very specific to that kind of thing. I don't know. There's a lot of pawns left on the board. White has good practical chances of winning, but not a guarantee. Okay, Sinus for white. It's D4, knight f6, C4, G6, G3, and now black played C6. So a lot of Grunfeld players, do like to play the C6, D5 and take back with the pawn. It's a very solid system. Here is position I've played, usually with a knight on F3 first. What's up, Asterbait? Where you been, man? So, I'm gonna, if I'm not sicker, if my COVID mystery illness doesn't get worse, I'm gonna try to stream tomorrow some Blitz games, like from 1 to 3 Central European time. If anybody's interested, can stop by. And then Sunday I do a simul. I've got a tournament game on the morning on Sunday, but my simuls are in the evening. So Friday, 2 hours Blitz here on Lichess and Twitch and in YouTube, and also, of course, Sunday evening. Guys, we're going to need to get some subs and some donations because the cost of living has gone up here. All right. Very unusual move now from Sinus, which I've never seen in this exact position. Looks like something Asterbait would do. Queen A4, an original solution. This is apparently a real move. Wow. That's pretty bizarre. But interesting because he's not played Bishop G7 yet. So you're actually threatening to take in the position where he can't recapture with the pawn. Wow. That's the first time I've seen this. I normally would not get this too often because the move order, I'll often play Neo Grunfelds with knight on F3 before bishop on G2. This is very specific to having bishop on G2. No knight on F3. And I know Avruk, I have another student who read his stuff, and he has a very specific style repertoire against Grunfeld, King's Indian type stuff. Yeah, thanks for being a subscriber. Bishop G7. But what else can black do here? Well, obviously, one of the things that black can do, which he could do anyway, like if you were to play an ordinary move like Queen B3, Queen c2 is take. You know, obviously, if you play Queen a4, taking is a major consideration, and that's totally playable. But one can argue that it's a concession of sorts. Black gives up the strong point on d5, and I'm sure Avrot, you know, covers those lines. Okay, so Queen a4, interesting. But the point is now, you force him to take back with a knight. He doesn't have a powerful pawn on d5. And we look at the opening explorer, and White's score is really solid. But, you know, honestly, I know from experience this type of structure, it's a very small advantage what we're talking about here. So knight f3, knight b6 is the main move. Your opponent castles. For some reason, castles doesn't have a very good score. Although black does have slightly more wins with it, but the sample size is probably too small to be relevant. You know, I'm not putting much stock in that. Castle, castle, and now knight b6, and then, you know, I just have nothing but bad luck. Whenever I try to put my queen on like a funky square like a3 in some kind of Neo-Grunfeld, it happened again. It happened to me back in October. I lost this horrible game where my opponent played like a computer in the Hungarian Team Championship. I like have this rule that I like religiously never put my queen on like a3 in a English or Neo-Grunfeld. This is actually really a Grunfeld because you do have a pawn on d4. But anyways, this principle applies. I just try not to put my queen on some weird square where it's going to get awkward and trapped, but I did it anyway. And the guy immediately exploited it. So here you are in a situation where you can put your queen on a3, b3, or c2. A3, you know, one of the ideas would be to, well, anyway, you're offering this pawn on d4. It's suicide to take it for black. If you play this, I mean, the only advantage of it, like queen c2 walks into bishop f5, but that can be met by e4, I guess. But you know, maybe he plays that anyway. There's some people who play this to just induce e4. Maybe it's too much though. You induce e4, then go here, and then boom, this is too strong. 2-0. Both good players with white. So queen c2 is good. Now black played a5, which is a very typical move in these structures, but not certainly black's not black's only option. I would say knight a6, a5, bishop e6. Again, bishop f5 turns out to not be so good. What else can black do? Knight, you know, a lot of people are going to do knight d7, which looks kind of lame. Notice there's no master games with knight d7. Because, like, ultimately, look at that bishop. What is black? This is a typical, like, 1700 move. They're going to play knight d7 because it's an obvious move, right? But, the idea would play for e5, but white can play rook d1, and your opponent would have to play something very awkward like this, probably. It looks so artificial. So what exactly can he do, you know? Knight a6, a5, bishop f5. No one has played bishop e6. Though, it's not entirely stupid. Because you have these ideas like there. Let's see. It's apparently playable. So the best moves according to the engine are knight a6 and bishop g4. Abdu Malik, we haven't heard much about her lately. She was here in 2017 playing in the Spring Festival. It was a huge sensation. But now her rival, Abu Sa'iva is more promising. um, she had a better bodyguard. So a5, rook d1, knight a6, and now e4. Well, you don't have to play rook d1. I mean, let's take a look at this. There's only one game where this position happened, and you happen to play rook d1. Dude, you're sacking a pawn. Is this even really a sacrifice? You take the pawn. I dare you to take that pawn, right? So you're not obligated to play rook d1. Both you and the same game went rook d1. But I would think here that rook d1 is just one of your candidate moves. You have other moves as well. Of course, it's a standard move. But, for example, okay, let's ask an obvious question. What about knight c3? I mean, this is totally natural. I don't see any problem with knight c3. Exactly. Looks like a good move that controls the center. If knight a6, I think there is a question about like where your queen is going in the instance of knight b4. And if we play like my old friend Wojtkiewicz, well, Alec would always, in the Catalan, he would always have it timed out, so, his queen is scooting over here when that knight is coming in or something like that. So maybe e4 or e3, knight b4 and queen e2, and notice how there's no like bishop coming to a6. But again, here we have to watch something like boom, boom. We can meet that with whatever, b3. So anyway, for example, you're not obligated to play rook d1, but okay, it happens to be the same move played in this game. Knight a6, and now e4. Also not obligated to play e4. I don't think you're obligated to play knight e4. I mean e4, excuse me. Here, however, like I said, you have an issue with the queen. Now, if you play a3, which is a very natural prophylactic move, we see dead people on the white squares, right? But, I mean, can black really do anything with it? I mean, what are they going to do? Like this? Give you e4 with tempo? And bishop e6? Okay. They're going to play a4, right? Okay, they're going to play a4. Well, at some point. I don't know. They're going to play bishop e6, maybe a4 later. So if bishop e6, knight here, a4. Here's a great example. Knight a4, queen a4, knight c5, knight b3, etc. So a3 really weakening. That's the point. A lot of people, Acerbi plays this 100% of the time. How about knight c3 letting black play knight b4? While we're on the subject, what if we just let him play knight b4? Screw it, Here you have a couple of possibilities. You could go to b1. Holy shit. We just transposed to a Grishuk game from 2012. Sorry, it's valid, right? Also, even this weird move, probably not that stupid, because you can transfer over here in some lines. Okay, anyway. So you did e4. You got queen e2. Black plays bishop g4. No. Okay, so Abdul Malik's move puts pressure on the d4 pawn, essentially. If she can take on f3 and take on d4, even if you pin him, he can always defend it with e5. So, I mean, the point is like here, takes, bishop takes d4. Even if you pin them, black can play e5, right? And there's nothing special. You're down a pawn. So, the point is like in a perfect world you have h3 in, where you've already preemptively stopped bishop g4. But black misses that, and maybe this isn't as good. Black is threatening knight b4, and they also have the ability to play, if you put your queen on e2, they have the ability to put bishop on c4, knight at c4. So now knight c3, knight b4, queen e2, bishop c4, right? You're not obligated to play knight c3, though. This is very precarious, but yeah, I'm not doing that. I mean, this looks really... What are you doing, though, after knight c3, knight b4, queen e2, bishop c4? You're playing queen d2? Oh, you play queen b1, I get it. Oh, I get it. Okay. Oh, now another... Well, this is an older game. Johann Sebastian Christensen in 2017 was only 24.58. Okay. Maybe that's true. Queen c8. So knight c3. His opponent played queen c8. It was a 2200. Overrated. Not a good move. Not a good plan. This exchange doesn't really help black that much. It's a bad bishop at this point. So queen c8. So what? Knight b4. More natural than Christensen's opponent. And now if you go to e2, you get bishop c forward. And then where do you go? Yeah, you have a problem. So, that was never your intention. Your intention was to play this. And now we have a Romanician game from 1989. Oh my god. That's so funny. Every position transposes to another game. Romanician. So Romanician, of course, is like still alive. He had his birthday like 2 weeks ago. Maybe a week ago. I wish him happy birthday. He's a legendary... He's just a legendary, like, fianchetto system player with white. Playing Catalan, ready, anything with, like, a kingside fianchetto stuff. This is a good thing to see, you know, that he played this with white. So, in his prime, in 1989. But still, black seems to be doing better than the queen c8 guy. So Husman here plays bishop g4, which makes some sense, but are we threatening something? I mean, ultimately, are you threatening anything? I mean, are you threatening like a3? Are you threatening d5? Are you threatening... I guess you're threatening what? I don't know what you're threatening. Not really threatening anything. That's the funny thing about this position. I mean, Husman plays bishop g4, and your opponent did what? a4. I don't really think you're threatening anything. So it's a tricky position. Yeah. Your opponent's move seems better than Husman's move. Husman's like trying to force things when it looks like you don't have any threats. Frankly, I would even think like maybe h6 wouldn't be so stupid. That would take away like g5. It might backfire. But I like a4. a4 is reasonable. And then h3. Oh my god, you're kidding me. Another game pops up. This is crazy. Pigusov. I played Pigusov once. There was once someone who named their guinea pig after Pigusov. So, as I was talking about last move, h6, right? It makes sense. Stopping things from coming to g5. It's a mirror image. What's up? Dragonfly Hunter. Pigusov. Slaggy, 1/2, 1/2. Yeah, queen c8 doesn't really strike me. What do you menace? I like Pigasov's opponent's move better. But guys, you gotta check this out. What did Pigasov do? This is so grandmasterly, right? This is 1993. I played Piggy later when he was like a little older. So this is an amazing move. Bishop d2, you know? Who even thinks of that? Bishop d2 with the idea of knight c4 and bishop e1. That's some serious shit right there. This guy is a technician, you know, he's like, wow. Bishop e1 protecting f2. Queen b6. a3 now. Knight a6. Bye-bye knight. And now the pawn just dropped? Oh my god. Queen b3. Knight c3. And b2's hanging, correct me if I'm wrong. Black didn't take it? Because b7 would fall in the end. I guess. Anyway. Queen c8, king h2. And now black kind of runs out of ideas. The queen isn't well placed here. The knight is unprotected. Sometimes you can do maybe rook b8. But I still think that black should be playing h6 at some point. This is stupid. He wants to go to a7, it looks like. Inducing bishop f4. But you have a lot of space now. If you can crawl your queen out to c1 maybe. Right, b7 was hanging. I know, it's like bishop d2, bishop e1 from the earlier Nimzo game. Yeah, now the next move is really gross. I don't know about bishop g5 objectively, but you're probably going to play queen c1. It's fine. I mean, black should play rook e8 now. This move is kind of gross. I think you can take on f6 and you're clearly better here. But it doesn't make it easy to win the game, you know. You can take, you can not take, you can keep the tension, you can play anything now. Queen c1. But interesting what you did. You went back, which is a nasty little trick to win a piece. Black plays queen d8, which is extremely awkward. I think he was planning on this, you know, which is looking crazy now. So he never should have moved his queen in the first place. Ends up playing queen d8. And now this is really starting to look like a very, very possible situation. But you play a3, shades of the other game. But now this coming in here, what are we going to do about that? Well, we see now. Boom. We've got 1, 2, 3, and then mystery meat on g2. It's a lot of power. Plus bishop takes b6, which is in some variations. I don't want to play bishop takes b6 because it's an important piece. This looks very strong. So he should take and go like bishop f5. So he does take, but you had a surprise for him. Wow. So he's expecting you to take, and then he'll play like... He's not going to try to take the pawn, I would think. I mean, maybe he could, actually, huh? Shit. You know, maybe our mystery meat didn't really work out. Okay, you have this. Or some version of that. But I thought you really had this. I mean, you have different moves. Maybe even e5. I mean, d5 just feels so good, you know. But I certainly wouldn't play it immediately without thinking it through. Hello, Chessy, bro. But is forcing it with a3 and d5? No, I don't know. Look at Pikusov. Pikusov would probably play like bishop h1 or something. I mean, no, I'm serious. I'm not being serious, but these guys like Romanishin, Pikusov, these grandmasters, my friend Zlatko Linčić, especially the guys who played the Fianchetto type stuff, they're so like, they're into these minutities. Like, I can see, you know, almost anything here. Queen c1, gotta be a candidate move, because I was trying to get that queen. Getting an attack on his king is a real thing here. You know, if black comes in with knight c4, you're going to be moving your bishop again. But again, going back a move to bishop g5, bishop f6, you know, this is no brainer. I mean, this bishop exchange is okay for you. I don't think you should be like wholesale avoiding this exchange of pieces. This exchange of bishops is actually a good thing for white. But we want it to work out in the optimal scenario. Well, as I said, I think you can take, you know, and you're better. You've got to be better here. I mean, you have a strong center. His pieces are scattered. You have more space. It's going to be like work, you know, it's work. If you take, he takes, you play like queen c1, king g7 to stop your queen from coming in. Yeah, it's a game. I mean, but maybe it's like a huge advantage to someone like Pikusov or Romanishin. To me, it's like a very clear but not so clear that you have an advantage, but I don't know how big it is. I don't know if it's enough to win or, you know, let's see. Yeah, computer's like plus 1.2, 1.1, 1.0. It's on the scale of 1.0. But, you know, I think his bishop's one of his better pieces. I don't have a problem with you exchanging it. But anyways, this move feels good, but I don't know if you should force it. That knight is really bad on a6, though, man. You know, I find it very hard to question a3. Yes, he got a solid b3 now. True, and maybe this, but at least his knight is out for a long time, I think. d5 is the clearest move, but it's not clear what your follow-up is. You probably have a lot of candidate moves. I even thought you might sack a clear pawn, like even this. Let's just say maybe this is too much. This is probably going too far. I do not ever want to do this. No, I don't know. It's really tempting to play d5. How good is your move? It looks good. It looks good. He has knight c4. This is suddenly, it's like a Sicilian or something. Knight c4, it gets crazy. Do you think he needs to take the time to play bishop d7 here? Because I'm not sure. Maybe you have like bishop h6. Yeah, that's what I was thinking now. This is the issue. Exactly. Now he's got problems. Okay. Yeah, that's my problem. Either I hang my queen or I miss some kind of obvious move. Okay, so bishop d7, and now it just looks like, yeah, it looks like a good Panov or something. Although now he does have maybe knight c5. If his knight can get back in the game, that wouldn't hurt him. You have some really neat moves, like knight c5, knight c6. Just hypothetically. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. This would be kind of funny. And I have no idea if that's remotely sound. But obviously putting his knight on a square where it's not protected. Where'd you ever get that bishop h6 idea? And at this point you have 94. But black should consider rook e8, right? Black should consider, like, sacking the exchange. My old friend Emil would, like, always sack the exchange. He's an old IM. He's notorious for sacking the exchange unsoundly. You just give him the slightest reason to sack the exchange, he'll sack the exchange. You just, like, look at him the wrong way, he'll sack the exchange. Probably he would play, like, queen b6 here. And then, you know, you take here, black takes with the rook. And then your knight is double attacked with an x-ray against f2. Plus there's some pressure here. You know, it looks complicated. And maybe not enough, but let's say queen e4. Wow, dead equal. What is the chances, like, queen b6 is black's best move? Well, I first suggested rook e8, right? You have a crazy move. Rook e8 is best. And black has other weird ways to sack the exchange. Holy shit. Knight c5. Knight d6. Hebden style. But I mean, if you think about the position that you have so many white square pawns, you know, this is kind of cool, actually. There are aggressive players who love the exchange sack that would have played it here. But bishop g7 is kind of typical move, and you're better. Again, that exchange you won it before. Regardless of the tactic that happens now. Knight e6 check. That's a neat move. But I'm not even sure if it's necessary. You know, I think you have a big edge. Though I admit, with the exchange of pieces, it's probably gone down. This is also annoying. Another possibility is rook e1. That would leave your knight unprotected. The queen b6 is still hanging in the air. So I'm nervous about this. Maybe I shouldn't be. Should I be nervous about f2? Feels like you're better, but, you know, exchanging pieces kind of helped him, and he still has that annoying pressure on b2. Looks like, okay, queen c2 is the routine move here. The first move you think of is this. We got to get out and keep this b2 protected. And we can swing over finally, like we talked about earlier. Like queen c2, rook c8, queen e2. This seems like the natural way for the game to go. Now you play knight e6, I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening. Okay, so you know, black can take with the bishop or the pawn. But bishop takes will open this dimension. Pawn takes will open this dimension. So I have no idea. I mean, this first glance looks safer for black. Take, take. Yeah, maybe this, you know, even this type of thing where we like take here might open up black counterplay along the b file. I'm not sure what's going on, that this is so clear. you know, that you're like dominating completely. He takes with the pawn, pawn takes, and then rook takes f2. And now there's knight e3. And your king is somewhat safe, but really don't like knight e3 in the air here. So obviously queen f8, rook takes queen f8, and then what do we do? You have queen e4. I mean, this is going to be a really good square. You get out of the knight e3 stuff. You defend g2, centralize. So, okay, rook takes. Does black have anything crazy? Rook takes g2 check. No. So it has to defend this. This is looking really bad. So you got him tied down to e7. Man, he must have thought he had some stuff here. It looks like he has queen f3. He has knight e3. But you stop knight e3. Well, this is really weird. I expected queen f3. Now he has whatever. Rook takes check, king h8, and you can just defend with queen g1. Queen g1 or queen h1. It doesn't look like black has anything, you know. It looks like you're winning. Wow, he does have a move though. Wow, that's crazy. Really surprising he has any move at all. He has knight to d2. Wonder if it matters what I do there. I was thinking queen h1. That's stupid. It turns out knight f4 is actually better. Oh, you have like rook takes h7 or something? So this is, you know, I still think like maybe black going back should try the other way. Bishop takes e6. I'm leaning toward bishop takes e6. It's still better for white, but you know, it feels like his king is a little safer in this line. He wanted the f play. So here, knight d6. I looked at bishop takes b7, but apparently you should just crack his structure. And then you have a technical position. Interesting game. This was a fun game. So knight e6 is quite good. I missed this, you know, the computer suggests queen e4. So just sack the pawn. I was talking about like what? I was talking about queen c2. But you can just sack the pawn, queen e4, knight takes b2 as an alternative. Yeah, look at the space you have. I mean, this is what I try to achieve myself so often, right? This is a really interesting game because it comes down to why is white better? And it's just the center, you know, your control of the center is just winning by its own, you know, in and of its own way, you know, in and of its own existence. The fact that you own the center wins the game, more or less. In this case, okay, it's slightly affected by other factors like the open file, but the fact that you traded off his kingside bishop on g7, it hits all by itself. Very good, Dragonfly Hunter. And in the words of Alonso Zapata, location, location, location. So, all right, knight e6 check, f takes e6, d6, f takes, rook takes, queen f8, knight d5. And now, I thought he has to go here. Is this knight c5? No. Yeah, he had to play queen f3. No, this is literally his only try. Queen f3. This is critical. Queen g1. And now he has this freaky knight d2 move. I don't think it matters if you played rook takes c7 or not. You know what? Go back a move, though. I was suggesting rook takes c7 right away. On queen f3. And the thing that I didn't get is that king h6 is actually better than king h8. Nobody gave me the memo on that. And that just... I guess, again, this knight d2 is kind of a useful move to have. In the event of something like queen c1, the dude has knight d2 now, blocking you out. So wow, this would have been really, really complex. Like here, queen g1, knight d2, rook c7 check, king h6, and then you have king h1. Queen hg3. And he's still alive. Material is equal. You have a rook on the 7th. His king's on h6. This reminds me of the time I had this game with Curdo, Dragonfly Hunter, after you left in Boston. We played this tournament, the Harvard Open. And Curdo and I ended up in the middle game with like my king on h3 and his on h6. But this is much better. Our king's on h1 and black's on h6. h1 seems better. So why did he not have rook f7? Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. Jesus Christ. That's cute. Rook f7, queen f7, pawn f7, knight f3 check, and black wins. Oh my god. No way. So apparently, like, you have to get out of that first. And now you're threatening rook f7. But then he takes. And you're still just clearly better because you have this huge passed pawn on e6 and the guy's king's on h6. But in the game, black played knight c5, which is too slow. Rook e7 check. He, of course, most people wouldn't play king h6, I think, intuitively. In this case, though, I mean, it's not as safe on h8 because we're getting into, like, there. Maybe d4 square is in discussions now. This is a nice game. The sinuses over the board game. Or no. This is not an over the board game. Okay. Rook takes c7 check, king g8, queen g1, and now knight d3. But the problem with this is, like, black's not threatening anything. But what do you menace? I mean, he's threatening queen f3, I guess. But it's too late, you know. We have rook f7. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. That's terrible. Rook f7. That's cute, though. He's going to have to take twice, right? Take, take. How does he say that? Take, take, take. Take, take, take. And it's equal material again. But you control the center. Look at this beautiful move. Queen d4. How aesthetic. You have queen d4 and you're threatening knight f6 check and rook f1. And who controls the center here? You had to play rook f7 first? Oh, wait, because he's not forcing you to play king g or queen g1 here. So after king g8, you could have played rook f7 immediately. Rook f7 immediately would have forced a similar position. What's the difference? But your queen has no access to d4. What are you doing with your queen now? Rook f7, pawn f7, queen f7. Why is this better? You're skewering his knights or something? You just skewer his knights? the skewers. It's not that simple though, right? He gets b5, and then would he win an exchange or something? It's so boring. What are you gonna do? This? Just win the exchange or something? Knight e7. Yeah. Such a dry way to win the game. Well, you're telling me he has a way out of this, though? You have to be winning here, no? I think you're winning. +2. Yeah, but +2 is not easy winning. Yep. You got knight f6 check, but it doesn't finish him off. Is the problem. You can't tear his knights away from each other. You need like bishop e4 though. Now he's trying to win your queen with discovery. That's a nasty shot. Bishop e4 resigns. Bishop e4, knight g4 check resigns. Okay, so knight f6 check, king h8, and then what? Oh, and then you played bishop e4. And that's it? He doesn't have a defense? Or he lost on time? It says he resigned. That hurts. The redundant knights in action. I gotta go, guys, but I want to show you one final thing. This is a game I played online, but on an anonymous account. And it's just a really ridiculous position, but I just want to show you. No spoilers. The following position happened where I was white in a blitz game against some unrated wherever random, and I got this position. My knight is like in h7. I played queen g6. So if black takes on e5, I mean, I don't know what I would have done, but I have all kinds of moves. Yeah, I'm gonna checkmate black probably. So he plays f5, which was a move he could have played before, and I didn't know how to win. Asterbate, check this out. Now, no spoilers. We see if Asterbate can figure it out. So I didn't know how to make progress directly. I played c4. My opponent moved his knight, and he's threatening like queen takes d4 check, take my knight on e5. And so, obviously, it looks terrible for black. Black must be losing. But I was thinking, okay, how do I... So, check. And if he goes to h8, okay, I have queen h7. But let's asterbate a question, right? He sees, like, that's mate. But if he goes here, and then after king f8, my original plan was to play that anyway, threatening an irreversible, queen g8, but queen takes d4 check, king h1. I think he could probably find rook d7, and it's like not. I don't think I can quite force mate. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh shit, there's something else here, right? So after this, queen f7, king f8. It took me a while to see it, but this is a Acerbate. This is for you. It's not common you get this pattern, right, in an actual game. I thought it was kind of funny, Queen f7, the double smothered mate. How often does that happen, It's not every day, like you see that in the puzzle mix. It's funny. Queen f7. All right, guys, have a great night. Thanks for following, and I'll see you on tomorrow with some blitz games if I'm not COVIDized. And Acerbate saw it immediately. All you have to do is trigger him, and he sees it immediately. He was like drooling. And then Sunday, Simul. Nice to see you back again, Dragonfly Hunter. So enjoy the smothered mate, my friends, and I'll see you later. Have a great night. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.